Why, hello everybody out there and welcome. It is Friday for me. Your experience may differ, but it is Fundamentalist Fails Day, which I love, and welcome and good to see you. And joining me, surprise, is a random dino. Hey Doc, how you doing, my friend? How you doing?
Howdy, howdy. I'm pretty good. Over here in the States, we just had the
Oh,
4th of July, and
oh
I'm
yeah.
actually visiting family, so my
Oh,
background's
nice.
a little different.
Yeah, that's fair. The backgrounds don't matter. They don't matter. Tip of the hat to you, sir. Yes. No, I do
Yeah.
like that. But yeah. So 4th of July, what did you get up to? What's the American thing to do on the 4th of July?
Not a whole lot. The 4th is our
Fair enough.
Independence Day when we
Uh-huh.
separated from Britain, or I don't know. I know prehistory better than history, but
The motherland, yeah. No,
fireworks,
no.
fairs, and spending time with family.
Yeah.
And
No
I
kings.
kind of
No
needed to come
kings.
home and just have a little reset,
Oh,
so
that's
I'm here.
cool. That's totally fine. Hey, yeah, I always feel weird going back to my childhood home. It always feels like I'm a kid again. It really does. So, yeah, great, fantastic. I'm all for it. But yeah,
And actually,
occasionally,
er, I'm currently set up in a 6-year-old's toy room. Those are
there you go.
blankets covering up racks of toys.
Hey, that's fine. That's totally fine. But what do we have for the children today, Doc Dino? What do we have?
Well, today we're going to be doing a favorite pastime of mine and torturing children.
Okay, that did. Fair enough.
Uh,
Fair enough. Yeah.
uh, we have Eric Dubay, who I've only heard his name. I'm not really familiar with him, but
Same, yes.
apparently he
Yep.
doesn't think dinosaurs are real, and
Okay.
it hurt
Well,
my brain.
oops. I've heard about him. I just want to hide this for a second. Sorry. If you haven't noticed, I am on a new thing, a new platform because I'm sick of StreamYard and they've annoyed me. So just keep that in mind, everybody. So if things go technically wrong, it is probably because I'm trying to get used to this dang platform. But that's okay. That's all right. That's sort of behind the curtain stuff. It's totally cool. Um, I've only heard of Eric Dubay in the context of flat Earth. I know he's
Mhm.
a flat earther. That's the only context I've heard. But I mean, it does not the overlap between flat earther, young Earth creationist, and every other conspiracy under the sun is pretty
It's
thin.
circle.
Yeah, it's kind of the Venn diagram is very, very circular. Yes, occasionally you'll get a bulge where someone doesn't believe in a certain conspiracy, but it really overlaps a lot. So um, I think that it doesn't surprise me in the slightest that a flat earther doesn't believe in dinosaurs or doesn't believe in medicine or doesn't believe in frigging oxygen at this point. It's ridiculous what they don't believe in. So
I mean,
um
they all prey on the same form of science illiteracy, so they're bound to
correct,
attract the
yeah.
same people.
Yeah, I was having because I didn't know whether you'd be coming today, and so I had an alternative, and that was people sort of railing against what was it? Big archaeology. Like, I don't know how you get to such a thing, but apparently big archaeology, like, so these people, they doubt medicine, they doubt archaeology, they doubt that just about every single discipline you could possibly poke a stick at, they doubt. And it's
Mhm.
so wild to me that they will use things like computers, which is obviously computer scientists, and drive their cars, which is obviously mechanical, and they'll do all of these products of science and then go, well, I don't like these things, these particular things which interrupt my personal beliefs, so I won't, I'm going to make up videos against that. It's just so wild to me. And Dubay, as far as I know, he's not, like, he has no credentials in anything. He's just an idiot, basically, just some random idiot that does flat Earth and young Earth creationist stuff, as far as I can tell.
But he's been around a while, right? Like he's been peddling most of this stuff for at least a decade, I think.
Right, right. Yes, I think let's see, Irrational Wiki should have something on him. Um, Okay, so he's an author, which isn't, I mean, anybody can print a book. YouTuber and blogger, yeah. So not really sort of an expert in anything. and which is fine. I mean, I'm not either. It's just I don't, go to the experts and say, "Hey, you don't know what you're talking about." That's the thing.
Right.
He has also done everything from arguing that the world is controlled by a royal bloodline to denying the Holocaust. Oh, you scumbag!
Oh, of course.
Yeah, of
Of
course he has.
course.
Um,
Hey,
uh,
don't mention the people who start with the J.
U.S. presidents come from the same bloodline. The Boston Marathon bombings were a false flag.
A false flag for what?
I don't know. I mean, presumably it was like the government trying to do something. Presumably blame. What was that? Was that the Muslims that did that? I can't even remember. The Boston
I don't remember
bombing
what group
was,
they were a part of. I think it was two teenage brothers. They planted bombs in
yeah,
trash cans along the Boston Marathon.
right. But they were Middle Eastern, I think. Yeah, radicalized bombers Tamerlan and Zohar Zanev,
Hmm.
largest terrorist attack. Let's see.
I
I
mean,
mean, they're very
really, it
young.
was pretty. I'm not going to say small scale for a terrorist attack, but it
Right,
got so
right,
much press
right.
just because it was during such a big sporting event.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Like it's the kind of attack anyone could do.
Right. Yeah,
If
I I don't know.
weird, people are weird.
It's wild. It is wild. Yeah, so they were Middle East. I'm not 100% sure what their motivations, were. I have no idea, but presumably politically motivated. Um, yeah,
Hmm.
Earth is not a planet. Relatively is not real. Gravity's not real. Uh, he's the worst. South Pole doesn't exist. Oh, of course he's anti-evolution. Of
Oh, of
course he is.
course.
Of course. Well, yeah, I didn't even have to mention that one.
I mean, it kind of goes
Oh
along with
dear.
the
Do
theory
you
and
want to see
dinosaur.
Eric Dubay explaining his beliefs through a rap?
You know, it might be a good introduction. Let's
Yeah.
die
I
before
think
we
it
die for
is.
real.
I think it is. I think this is peak amazingness. Okay. Thank you, Rational Wiki. You are a friend to us all. I think I want to add that, but I'm gonna have to rejig it here. Um sh- no, that's not it. That's not the one I want. Is that it? Kind
Yeah,
of.
the camera's sideways, but I think that's how it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I should be able to. Sorry, people. I do apologize. It just is you know. There, that's better.
I mean, people came here for some pain, so they should be
Yeah,
ready.
yeah. The pain begins. The pain begins. There we go. I guess that's all
Sounds like a
right.
Star Wars sequel.
Or maybe that one. No, that's a bit too big. I don't like that. I like thumbnails instead. Okay, just bear with me, people. I'm just trying to find, where I'm at. So this is an what? That's full screen. Okay, that's the weirdest video. Okay, so once you go flat wrap by Eric Dubay, are you ready? Are you prepared? Is
Yes,
your sphincter tightened sufficiently to handle this?
let's hope so.
I hope so too. All right, let's do it.
So Paul Michael Bales made a diss track about me. Him and Neil deGrasse Tyson think they can rap now.
What's with the random Hitler thing? Like, what's with that? I don't.
I mean, if you're asking questions already, I think we're going to be in for a rough time.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. I'm in. Hey, what's going on? Bustin' raps now. I'm flowing on with a song for your mom. Tell her Earth's flat and her ass is the bomb. Tell her Iraq sells crack to Iran. Tell her I'll be back with a smack for her son. Then tell her she's fat like a Renaissance cunt. Tell her she's whack like a 90s.
Okay. Sorry, so that
Oh.
was a language warning. Yeah, this is.
I think they were a little late for that.
Yeah, yeah.
And then start a full clap when the rap's all done. Tell her all that, then tell her one more. Tell her that you were the son of a whore. When she asks who and tells you to snitch, tell her that her son is a son of a bitch. Anyway, it's me, Yoka Guy, weaponized version 2.3. Here to bring truth to the unwashed masses. Force you to put on your day lip glasses. But you see,
It's not bad. I mean, it's better than I could do, so grats. I just, yeah.
Not the worst rap I've heard, but that's a pretty low bar to trip over.
Well, yeah, but, you know, I mean, hey, it's not bad. All right, I'm pleasantly surprised. I don't want to get him, like, copyright. Apparently, he's very copyright happy, so, but hey.
Mark, I do have to ask,
yeah.
have you ever seen the Jesus rap?
No. Oh, is
I'll
that
show you
old
after this.
guy that says that's why Jesus is my N-word?
Yes.
Yes, I have seen that. It is hilarious.
Fabulous.
Oh, it's magnificent. And you know, obviously we can't show that or, you know, do that on
No.
but that's okay. Look, Eric Dubay. Wow. Okay. He can kind of rap, but at least better than I can. So yeah. All right. So this is Dinosaurs Didn't Exist is the name of this, and I might speed it up a bit so we're not watching less of Eric Dubay than possible.
Yeah.
But let's do it, I guess. Do you want me to turn the names off? They're kind of a bit claustrophobic, aren't they? And if I had to do that, how would I do that? That's a question.
I have no idea.
I'm just too good. I'm just too good. It's just the way it is. Just acknowledge me. Witness me. All right. So are you ready for the dinosaur thing?
Yes, I am. I'll just raise my hand when I have something to say.
Yeah. I'll just chime in. I'll be able to hear you, probably, possibly. You know, maybe. I should be able to hear you. It should be fine. It should be fine. I'll just get the chat up because I'm kind of feeling a bit. Okay.
A little bit lonely.
When considering the existence of dinosaurs, we must first acknowledge that the vast majority of these creatures are without question conceptual inventions rather than scientifically accurate depictions of Earth's inhabitants.
Well, okay. What you mean? The dinosaurs like you're showing they're conceptual? Because I mean, the bones and stuff we found are not conceptual bones.
No, they're not. And I mean, he's preying on. Okay, maybe preying on is the wrong word.
Yeah.
He's mixing up something that a lot of critics will say, which is just that, oh, we don't really have that much of many skeletons, but no, we do. Most dinosaurs are decently well known, but there are a few that are pretty fragmentary.
Yeah, sure.
And like historically, people gave them names and full descriptions and stuff, but that's kind of fallen out of favor in the recent decades because we realize, hey, we have like 2 bones. We're not sure what this is.
Yeah.
So sometimes dinosaurs will just go by the like the Japanese Titanosaur for 3 decades, which is a real thing. There are huge sauropods from Japan, but they're not complete enough to be named. So we just call them the Toba Titanosaur, which honestly I think is kind of cooler than giving it a real name. But that's
just sort of a generalization based upon where it was found and sort of the type they think it is.
Yeah, I mean, paleontology is by and large one of the more recent sciences, so we've kind of been going through growing pains in the last few decades, but we've learned.
Yep.
These highly skeptical representations are prevalent not only in the captivating illustrations found in textbooks, but also in what can be best described as imaginative artwork in museum exhibits.
Well, I mean, famously, feathers on dinosaurs was something that came along recently because feathers will rarely survive the preservation process. So, you know, we kind of didn't know that, like we thought they were reptilian and sort of scaly, but now we know that most dinosaurs were feathery. So yeah, we're kind of updating our knowledge all the time, but just because something's in error doesn't mean that they didn't exist. It just means that, hey, we have to update our information. Like it's sort of like somebody going, oh, well, you thought the illness was a bacteria. It's a virus, so it doesn't exist. It's that line of thinking, like because you weren't 100% accurate, then the thing you're talking about isn't true. And that's not how we evaluate things. That isn't how we classify things. It's very strange. I don't,
Yeah,
you know,
it's just a fundamental misunderstanding of the scientific process.
right.
Like, we just take in new data and we evolve, I guess you could say.
Mm.
These artfully crafted depictions of prehistoric life forms primarily serve to promote the evolutionary agenda and reinforce the notion of a history extending back millions of years.
Oh, of course, it's the evolutionary agenda. So this idea that evolution has an agenda, or there's people are using evolution for an agenda, it's so weird to me because evolution's like one of those inconvenient truths, right? Like it's a truth, but it's
Yeah.
one that we don't necessarily like or doesn't necessarily serve us well. For a start, it relies on a selection method that's actually quite brutal, that we wouldn't, like to do. Secondly, it kind of, there's all these leftover evolutionary traits like our pareidolia, for instance, our sort of tendency to see faces and patterns in things. It's not great for us. Like the modern day, it's not that useful, but it's just a hangover. So it is one of those things that, nobody wants it to be true. Nobody's going, hey, I want evolution. It just is. It's sort of like saying, the agenda of lightning to, blow everything up and, fry your electric. Well, it does that, but it's not an agenda. It just is.
I mean, I wouldn't say necessarily I want it to be true, but I think it's really cool that it seems to be a way that the world works, and I love learning about the process. Like,
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I do like the process, and I do like learning about it. But to the individual, it is not a great thing.
no, it's
Just saying.
definitely a very brutal process.
Yeah. So, and it's not like we're saying that we want to do this or we want to, or it is something that we're, saying is amazing. No, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying it's a natural process, just like, gravity is natural. You might say gravity's evil because it like causes people to fall down cliffs and stuff. Well, yes, but it's not an agenda by gravity. Like it's
I mean, I wouldn't even call it evil. It just is.
yeah.
Like it or not, it is.
Yeah, it just absolutely is. And there is no agenda. It's just that, we find out what is true, and that is where everything points. Sorry. Sorry, there's more evidence for evolution than your God. I'm really sorry, but that's the way it is.
Defined by modern science, paleontology is the study of ancient life through the examination of fossils.
And actually, I do kind of want to comment on that.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to accept God or evolution. Like, there are plenty of evolutionary biologists who are Christian or any other faith.
Sure.
Like, it's just a fact of the world. There's nothing religious about it, or anti-religious for that matter.
But I think that the predicate for rejecting evolution isn't sort of a disagree. Like the only reason they disagree with it is because it does threaten their preconceived, God belief that and the world was created, 6 to 10,000 years ago. That it isn't because they found overwhelming evidence against it, regardless of what, AIG and that say. They're constantly trying to pick at things. But it is because they start with the notion that it can't be right to start out with because they're right. So I think that,
Okay.
I don't know anybody that rejects evolution that's like an old Earth creationist, for instance. Like I don't know anybody.
Okay, I guess if that's what you mean, I understand and I agree. I'm just meaning more like no one coming at it from an evolutionary worldview rejects it because they don't want to be religious. They're just two different
Yeah,
things.
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. No, I get you.
Like, you don't have to be a chef or work out at a gym. You can do both.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, I think they are they're fine and compatible. I mean, you do have to do some, pretty hard explaining to explain why the Bible says what it does. But I mean, I don't see a problem with it. Which Jurassic World was this? Was this the first one? Jurassic World, the very first one?
Yeah, it was.
Chris Pratt. Might have gotten a decent movie. You know what? I didn't mind this so much. I just thought it was a bit weird. That's all. I didn't, I don't know. It's a bit strange.
Yeah, I have a lot of problems with Jurassic World, but it's definitely the best of its line, like
Yeah.
of the world movies. Which, considering I probably give it a 5 out of 10, is saying a lot.
God put dinosaurs on the earth to test your faith. Look, I think God put you on this earth to test my faith. That was a Bill Hicks joke where he said like, I think they put bones in the earth to test our faith, and he's like, I think he put you on the earth to test my faith. Just so good. If you're not familiar with Bill Hicks, he was awesome.
Seeks to
I have not
reconstruct
heard
the
of it.
history, evolution, and environments of extinct organisms by analyzing their remains and traces. As an interdisciplinary field, paleontology combines elements of biology, geology.
He said one of the best damn things, and he was like, I did all these jokes that were against Christians, and later after the show, these Christians came up, and they went, "We're a Christian, and we don't like what you said." And he goes, "Well, forgive me." And then later, as I was hanging from the tree,
Dear.
No, the earlier ones were Jurassic Park. This is Jurassic World. It's the rebooted one is Jurassic World, isn't it? Do I have that right?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Jurassic
actually
Park is the good one.
Yes, Jurassic Park. I mean, the first one was fantastic. I don't really know much about the other ones, I'll be honest with you. But this was Jurassic World, which I don't know. I just, tame velociraptors seems a bit stupid to me, but never mind.
Yeah,
Chemistry,
there's a
utilizing
lot
technique.
that I would do
Yeah,
to improve it, but
and
I
her
don't make movies.
take your heels off, woman. Like, God, like, seriously, do you have to run in heels? That must be awkward as hell. Oh, boy.
Such as excavation, laboratory analysis, and comparative anatomy to explore past life and ecosystems. Sir Richard Owen was a prominent British biologist, paleontologist,
and a horrible human being, apparently. So Richard Owen was a nasty guy who took credit for others' work, and he is the reason why we have public museums today. Strangely enough, well, he advocated very hard for museums being open to the public and then being able to charge for entry is really the thing that he was interested in. But that's how we got public museums, because he wanted to charge people for seeing stuff.
Yeah, and also he was a young Earth creationist.
Yep.
And granted, not our modern form of young Earth creationism, because that's like a product of the 20th century, but he was one.
And he wanted to be the type specimen for Homo sapiens. And
I actually didn't know that.
Yes, Richard Owens wanted to be the type specimen for Homo sapiens because, okay, so what's a type specimen?
A type specimen is an individual of a species that is described in detail anatomically, and is the specimen by which all others are compared to. Like to see if they're the same species, if they might be a subspecies or something like that.
So we'll have like type specimens of chimpanzees, and that's the one they compare to. It's just a standard, average member of the species kind of thing. So Richard Owens was famously egotistical. So he wanted to be the type specimen for Homo sapiens. The problem was that after he died and they did, the autopsy, they found out he had syphilis. So he was not going to be the type specimen for humanity and did not eventuate to be so. The guy's hilarious.
I don't know if we have a type specimen for Homo sapiens. I'd actually be surprised if we did.
Do we?
I'll look it up.
Yeah.
I know we do for other human species, but they're all extinct.
No, there's no single type specimen. Okay, all right, cool.
Yeah, which doesn't surprise me.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
And something I will say for fossil species, like fully extinct ones, it's not so much the average specimen that becomes the type, it's just the first one with good material.
Okay. Okay.
So,
Yep,
like
no worries.
the type specimen of T-Rex, for example, it
Mhm.
actually has a lot of healed and broken bones that you don't see in a lot of other T-Rex.
Okay.
Like, it has busted up cervical vertebrae and fused ribs, a whole bunch of injuries, but it was the first one with good material that was found and described, so it is the type.
Okay, fair enough.
With that said, like if a dinosaur is described with very limited material, like
Hmm.
happened a lot in the 1800s where we named things based on bits of fragments,
Right.
sometimes we'll give a neotype, which is a very complete specimen of the same species.
Mhm.
Allosaurus is a good example of this. The
Okay.
original Allosaurus is a couple vertebrae and limb chunks.
Mhm.
But the Smithsonian has had a beautiful, almost complete one for decades. So in the 2010s, it was established as the neotype. And
Okay.
now all Allosaurus are compared to it.
Right. Yeah. Cool. And I tell you what, since we've got a few people here, I'm going to throw out a few readerships. Give me 1 second. I will announce them, but just in the lovely, just gorgeous visage of Richard Owens, who's just a lovely looking guy. Just a lovely looking guy. I'll
Yes.
throw these out. Yeah.
He,
Yeah,
he shall
absolutely.
judge those who are worthy.
Right. Okay. Oh, I'm so good. Wow. Okay, those are some hits. Woohoo!
Yeah.
All right, we've got them going out for Al Trucker, Binge Thinker, Ebb, Pinworm, and Uncle Charlie. Winners, chicken
Yahoo!
dinners. Enjoy your emotes and other benefits. Congratulations. Awesome. That was like, yeah, 5 regulars right there. That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Al just got
I
here.
guess,
Yeah, no, I know Al just got here. He's special, all right? Just don't be jealous. Don't be jealous.
and I guess in the spirit of things, folks,
Yeah.
if you want any dinosaur questions, feel free. If you don't know me, I am a paleontologist. And if you send them in a super chat, it highlights it for Mark and I. So
Yeah. Dog. Are
tell
you
us
in
your
chat?
dinosaur in the comments.
Are
What was
you in
that?
chat? Are you in chat?
I have the chat open.
Oh. Why can't I at you?
Uh,
Well, just
festivities?
at Mark Reed
There I am.
for Oh. Why isn't it?
I
Oh, there we
don't
go.
know.
Okay.
I'm logged in on my
For
computer.
any dinosaur related questions
Yeah.
at Mark Reed for any stupid questions. Thank you.
So- Actually, that kind of reminds me. You remember the Arc series we used to do, Mark?
Yeah, absolutely. Hang on, I'm gonna pin that.
Yeah, honestly, I've kind of been missing it. If Arc ran
Yeah.
better on my computer, I'd ask if you wanted to start it up again.
Maybe. I mean, I to be honest with you, now that I've started YouTube, that game takes up way too much space on the old SSD. I'll tell you that right now. At least
Yeah.
the next one is a bit smaller and a bit more compact and a bit more efficient, but it's very buggy and it
Wait,
looks gorgeous, but
the new
it,
Arc is smaller than the old one?
correct,
I
yes.
didn't know
Yeah.
that.
Yeah, it's just because it's on Unreal Engine, and the other one was on their own weird, over cumbersome, very inefficient graphics engine kind of thing.
Yeah.
I grew up with green plastic dinosaurs. Is a Dimetrodon a dino? I don't think so. I think that is not a dinosaur. I'm gonna say it is
Nope.
a. Sorry.
Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's something else. It's a what's the two things? It's not the one that's a dinosaur. I'm trying to think of it. It's got something to do with the ear holes. I cannot remember the name. Help me out, please. What is it?
It's a synapsid, like humans are.
Synapsid, yep, not a
If
diapsid.
you're for vertebrates, well, at least for vertebrates that lay eggs, which humans are technically, there are 2 holes in the back of the skull. For some of them, whereas for others, there's only one. For humans and Dimetrodon, there's just one, which would be right about here, but humans have closed it up. And dinosaurs have one here and on the top of the head,
Yes.
as do crocodiles and basically anything else you'd call a reptile.
So I got it right. Yay!
Yeah, it's a
See-
Permian synapsid. Is what it
Permian
is.
synapsid. There you go. So it is not a dinosaur. And left-handed Jedi, that was not a stupid question. Okay, that was actually a very good question. How dare you? I said good questions go to Doc, not. Oh, you're welcome, Binge Thinker. You're totally welcome. I'm so glad it hit you. Take that. Shut up and take my readership. That was actually a really good question. I only wanted stupid questions only. Okay, you failed the mission. Jedi. All right, let's go on and
Yes.
yeah.
And
Let's see what
comparative
else he
anatomist
says about
who
Owen.
lived from 1804 to 1892. He is best known for his contributions to paleontology, including coining the term dinosaur, meaning terrible lizard, in 1842 to describe a distinct group of prehistoric reptiles. The initial claim of a dinosaur discovery was made by William Buckland in the early 19th century.
Yeah, Buckland was famous. He was found a ton of them actually. But I mean, people had. You're right, Jedi. I mean, lots of people had found old bones that were massive, and we know that the Chinese found a lot of these bones and thought they were from dragons, kind of thing. So it wasn't like Buckland was the first person to discover this. They thought they were giants or ogres or whatever mythological creature. So we know that people were finding this way before these guys, like way before.
Famously, you know what a megalodon is, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the giant shark with the giant teeth.
Yep.
For centuries, people were finding their teeth in rocks all over Europe. But since they look kind of like tongues, they were called tongue stones.
Oh,
and they were
wow,
thought to be
okay.
the tongues of the people who had died in Noah's flood.
Oh,
It
no.
wasn't until the 1600s that
Yeah.
I think it was Nicholas Steno looked at them and was like, this is a shark tooth.
Right. Because there weren't sort of many shark experts back in the day, unfortunately.
Apparently not. Well, the science of, well, I was going to say comparative anatomy, but really just anatomy really picked up in the 17 and 1800s. Just surprising that, like, it's something that's so core to every kind of life on Earth, but we only really
Right.
started studying it in the last few hundred years.
Mm-hmm.
And Dubay will go on to say that the first dinosaurs were named after really scrappy material and stuff, but there was enough there to diagnose what they were and to figure out that they belonged to no living group of reptile.
Yeah.
Except birds, but birds are weird.
Yeah.
And in particular, Owen based the definition of Dinosauria on a lot of very peculiar features in the hips, the vertebrae, and parts of the skulls. And all dinosaurs, well, all dinosaurs, I'll remove the air quotes, have all of those features. And it sets them completely apart from any other living reptile.
Right. And I mean, it doesn't matter what you name them. I mean, somebody named the marsupial in Tasmania the Tasmanian devil. It doesn't mean it's a supernatural being, any more than calling them terrible lizards means that they're actual lizards. This is a problem that flat earthers have. They sort of take things that are simply based upon etymology and naming conventions and taking it literally. It's sort of like, no, nobody thinks they're lizards, you idiot.
Even Owen could tell that even though they were reptiles, these things had a high metabolism. Like he described them as, and actually dinosaurs kind of helped inform Owen's creationism. He believed in a weird type of creationism called successive creation, where God was basically a tinkerer that would come out with new
Mhm.
versions of life on Earth, and
Yeah.
every time he would make them better and superior. So Owen thought it went like fish, lizard, dinosaur, mammal, with mammals being the most advanced and the best. So even back then, the creationists thought the dinosaurs were like a weird intermediate step in evolution.
Mhm.
Well, evolution, which is kind of
But
interesting.
they believed in evolution and a selection mechanism, but that was, like, all done through God, so it's kind of really
Exactly.
wild, isn't it? I think there is
But
a
they were so
T-Rex
close to the
magic
right
card,
answer
dude.
too, which is so cool.
Isn't it
Like
like
life changes.
isn't it like a green card, like the T-Rex? I don't know. There's definitely dinosaurs in Magic.
T-Rex, I don't know if it's official, but T-Rex definitely is a card in Magic. I mean, my guess is it would be, I mean, it would be a large land creature without magic abilities. It would probably have trample, maybe
Sounds
4
like
or
green to
5
me.
mana, something like that. Like a little bit above a war elephant, which I think is 3, but I could be wrong.
Oh,
I don't know. I haven't played Magic since I was a kid with my dad.
Eric Dubay called the final experiment fake and it was filmed in a studio. Yeah, I know, I know. That's why we're laughing at him. That's why we laugh at these people, because they are so absurd. And this gets really absurd, like seriously, it gets actually
Oh yeah.
hilarious.
near Oxford, England. His most notable find consisted merely of a partial lower jaw, with teeth and assorted fragments of limb and vertebral bones. Despite the lack of anything approaching a complete skeleton, these sparse and highly incomplete remains were deemed sufficient by Buckland.
I love how he says these sparse and incomplete remains as he shows a literal, almost complete skeleton of a maybe a diplodocus or something like.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah, he didn't have a lot, but he put forward this premise, and then we found other stuff to back it up. You're acting like he was the only one around who found this stuff. Like he wasn't
Yeah,
the only one, champ.
he wasn't. And Megalosaurus, like Dubay said, the original description, lower jaw, some limb fragments, vertebrae, and ribs, and the hip.
Yeah.
That's all fairly diagnostic material if you're familiar with anatomy. And
Mm.
Buckland, being a doctor, was very familiar with anatomy.
Right.
And also a
And
reverend, actually. A lot of
yes.
early paleontologists were clergymen.
Yeah.
To speculate about the existence
Well, they were the only ones with time to do it, kind of thing. Everyone else was laboring away, and the
Yeah.
nobles weren't real. I mean, that they were clergymen or people from wealthy and or aristocratic families, kind of. Essentially, anybody with the money and time to do it, essentially, was who was doing it.
Yeah, and Buckland in particular, there are so many crazy stories about him. The man was a true eccentric. Like his biography is kind of insane. He once ate the heart of a French king. And I'm not joking.
Wow. What a life. Didn't he like always do field work in like full priest attire kind of thing, like, and never
Yes,
took
he
it off?
did.
And it
And
was
he
like,
loved to do it too.
sorry?
Yeah, and he loved to do field work too. Like
Yeah.
he loved to get his hands dirty.
Yeah.
He was maybe the least priest-like aristocrat of any priest-like aristocrat.
Right.
of a
I
previously
would have loved to meet him.
unrecognized giant reptilian creature. He quickly described this creature as Megalosaurus in 1824, marking one of the first purported identifications of what would later be classified as a dinosaur. It is crucial to recognize the extreme scarcity of skeletal remains at the onset of the dinosaur fossil discovery era.
Yeah, that's
At
onset.
the onset.
At the onset, yes. Yeah, and
I-
later, and if we'd never found anything else, you might have a point, maybe, but it didn't stop there. It didn't.
No.
Like, why are we pretending like, oh, we found one fossil and yep, it's dinosaurs all the way down? Like, that's not what happened. Oh boy.
No, I mean, even within the next like decade or two, like we found tons of things that would later turn out to be dinosaurs.
Yeah.
That Some of which were almost complete. Celeidosaurus from England, one of the first fossils ever found of it, was a nearly complete skeleton. It was one of the early small armored dinosaurs, and the armor scoots were even in place across its body.
Yeah.
It's really cool, and that was one of the first ones named.
Mm-hmm.
And the extent of far-reaching conjecture involved in reconstructing these creatures from mere fragments into fully illustrated life forms.
Well, yeah, at first. But as we went along, we kind of corrected and updated and got a real good sense of what at least their skeletal structure looked like. Yeah, there were other things we were fuzzy on, like what they sounded like, what their skin was like. You know, we didn't really know, but we certainly knew that they weren't related directly to anything on Earth. They were so different, but had traits from, like, they were mosaics. They had traits from lizards and birds, for instance.
Yeah.
This entire narrative, from the outset, was quite clearly built on highly speculative and conjectural imagination.
This narrative.
Just because you don't understand something does not mean it cannot be understood.
Right. And I mean, it was a hypothesis, but, you know, at a certain point when you cannot falsify that hypothesis, you've got to say, well, it is almost certainly true that there were big ass lizards. that yeah, wandered the earth and, you know, got up to all kinds of hijinks and ate each other and fought each other, and, you know, and we thought it was rare, but there's actually tons of these things. So yeah, wow.
Despite
Science
the extreme
evolves,
scarcity
more
of
news
fossil
at 11.
finds, the era of dinosaur discovery experienced rapid expansion, with newly described species quickly added to the growing body of known species. However, we must approach with skepticism the immediate assertion that these fossil remains are millions of years old. We have to consider that many of these...
Yeah, pretty sure Mosasaurus sort of hunted in deep oceans, not like, you know, wouldn't jump up on land like a frigging orca. You know, I don't know that that's accurate. So, you know, like, this is the thing. This is his bread and butter. It's like them showing, showing a graphic of how the Earth rotates and saying, "Look, it's a cartoon." Yeah. Yes. Nobody thinks that's real. He's like showing a movie and going, "Oh, look, it's all fake." It's like, no, this is just a movie, dude. Seriously.
It's not that deep. It's not that deep.
Discovered specimens might actually belong to a far more recent era, or might not represent new species at all, given the highly limited fossil evidence supporting such claims. Many of us commonly assume
it's not really that limited anymore. Like, yeah, at the start it was limited. Not that much. How many fossils do you think are out there? Millions? Hundreds of thousands?
Right. Are we talking vertebrate or invertebrate? Because
vertebrate.
A lot. Even if we're just sticking with vertebrate, you're talking about the tens of billions, trillions.
Yeah. Well,
and
I
that's
mean,
just the identifiable stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think that there is so many. And they're all they're not really anything to do with today's modern animals. Like, not really. And he'll get to that, and it's actually quite funny what he says. It's actually hilarious. So, yeah.
that the detailed depictions and illustrations of dinosaurs that we see in academic books and museum exhibits are based on the discovery of complete skeletal fossil remains, allowing for an accurate depiction in their structure and anatomy. In reality, the opposite is true.
What about the ones that are, Eric? What about the hundreds of species that are based on complete remains?
He doesn't think any of them are complete. And some of them are complete. It's just an outright lie. He thinks they're all incomplete. And it's like, no, we've got some that are actually complete. Or, you know, we've got 3/4 of one and all the missing bones out of another that we can tell are the same species. You know, they're found in the same area. They've got the same traits to them. We can tell they're the same species. But of course, he wants to ignore that. So does that make a complete skeleton? Yes. Are they from two different animals, like maybe 3/4 from two specimens? Yes. And they overlap.
Yeah. I mean,
It's
just
not.
sticking to the 1800s, we have, well, dinosaur-like things at least. We have the Latisuchus, uh, Pterodactylus, Archaeopteryx, Compsognathus, which you have that. You have basically every theropod. Ichthyosaurs, plesiosaurs, pliosaurs.
Mhm.
You can go on and on and on and on and on. And even with like big like museum dinosaurs, Diplodocus, Camarasaurus, several ankylosaurs. Like we even in the dawn of paleontology, we had a lot of these things.
Yeah.
It's not just speculation, it's what exists.
Hmm.
These depictions rely on highly incomplete fossil remains, fueling the inherent skepticism that continues to surround the dinosaur narrative from the start. The lack of substantial academic documentation only further fuels skepticism.
Lack of academic documentation. Wow. Wow. Like, just because Dubay
Huh.
doesn't know that papers exist, like, paleontologist papers exist, doesn't mean they don't exist. Like, they're there. There's tons
No,
of
we
them.
listen. We are an extremely pedantic group of
Yeah, no
hyper
shit.
nerds.
Yes,
We have
absolutely.
any species description past like 1880 is going to be at least 20 pages, usually 60, maybe
Mhm.
200, describing in a skeleton in excruciating detail.
Right. Along with pictures, along with diagrams, along with, all
Yep.
kinds of material like hypotheses, conclusions, like a scientific paper. But it's so funny that these are the kind of people to say, hey, the lack of science academic documentation when they have no academic documentation for anything they spout off. They will just
No. And,
flat Earth. Yeah, it's a thing. Well, how far is the sun? We don't know. Yeah,
and
that's
like for anyone curious why we're so thorough, because we're trying to prove each other wrong. That's the
yep.
entire scientific process. Prove me wrong, and if you can, great, we have advanced. Please
So
do.
I didn't know this before I met Doc, but apparently there is a very old fight going on over people and the Spinosaurus that has not been resolved, looks no way to resolve, and yet they are fighting tooth and nail to be the one correct about what the frill on its back was for and how it was actually, put together and all of this stuff. They're still fighting over it, have been for hundreds of years. It's ridiculous,
Yep.
like it.
Over a century, yeah.
Yeah, crazy.
Like,
But that's how we get scientific precision, is we have people support their hypothesis, and the one with the most evidence and the one who can prove or demonstrate that they are correct wins. That's how it
yep.
works. And then they don't really get anything. They just get the right to go around and tell all these people that argued with them how wrong they were. Sucks to be them. And I'm actually the expert in Spinosaurus. Thank you. Thank you.
Entire careers have been built out of proving our consensus wrong.
Right. And that's great.
Like, we
That's
celebrate it
fantastic.
when we can be proven wrong.
Yeah. Everything's up for questions in science, but you can't just go and say, make up falsehoods like Dubay here. Like, we have no complete fossils and it's all so sparse and we've got no academic documentation. Get out of here, you yoga teaching idiot. Like, seriously, this is not like this is not even a honest critique of the paleo paleo community. It's not.
Nowhere near.
About these alleged findings. Initially, a flurry of discoveries occurred within a short span, and the eagerness to construct these creatures through vivid illustrations not only raises questions, but also strongly suggests an underlying agenda.
What?
The agenda is, look at this cool thing I found.
Yeah.
What is it?
Yeah. And I think it was the mystery that drew people to it in the first place. It wasn't an agenda for anything. It was just, how do we explain these animals that seem to be gone and they're not around anymore. And, we've not seen anything like them on Earth. It is that mystery that was the most alluring thing. And nobody was sort of going, oh, well, let's push this as an answer. They really didn't have an idea of what happened, where they were. We're talking about the start of things.
Mhm.
As
Like, there's
Doc
no
pointed out.
agenda to push.
Yeah. As Doc pointed out, Owens was like, oh, well, God must be updating versions as he goes along. This is one of the things that was suggested. And, it's just, we had no idea. So this is a complete mischaracterization of the, the golden age of paleontology. It certainly wasn't like that. There was a number of different hypotheses. And the thing was, as we went through, again, the scientific process, if you can demonstrate that you're right, that's the one that wins. And the older Earth is the most evidence behind it.
Well, I mean, proof that paleontologists are all pedantic nerds. He's not talking about the golden age of paleontology. He's talking about the birth of paleontology.
Right. That's true.
The golden age is what we are living in right now.
Well, golden age
At least
usually
most
means,
people consider it to be.
well, golden age usually is the onset, the very first ones, and the silver age next, I think. Maybe I'm wrong.
Golden age is like the time of greatest advancement, or like when we know the most, at least in most sciences.
Okay.
Like, it's the best of times, basically.
All right. No, that's fair. That's absolutely fair. I mean, we've got all kinds of things now. We've got like ground penetrating radar. We've got, all kinds of stuff, or really sonar, like we've got all kinds of stuff to be able to detect all of this things. And, to characterize, like to go back is like saying, well, Charles Darwin got some things wrong. Well, yeah. What's your point? Like, what is your point?
I mean, he got some things wrong. He was right on the most important parts.
Sure.
And we have 200 years of documentation to prove it.
Well, it's impressive without a working knowledge of genetics to be able to put that together. That's the impressive thing, that he managed to put together the idea at all without an understanding of how genomes, how alleles actually worked. It's actually really impressive. But, it's easier to sit back and be already taught something and go, oh, yeah, I would have come up with that. Yeah, sure you would have, mate. Sure.
No,
sure.
a lot. People didn't for thousands of years.
Yeah.
Consider a scenario in which numerous large crocodiles and
look, Justin, everything can be a sex organ if you're brave enough. Okay, just saying.
I don't know. I'm partial to it maybe being a structure for a blimp.
Structure for a blimp.
Like the center of a blimp that would expand like a gas bag from the sail.
Oh no,
That's a stupid thing.
How to make a Spino fan really mad, like really angry.
Honestly, I'm also just waiting for us to find the laser optics.
Yeah, fair enough. I don't know what I'd put my thing is. I think it was for windsurfing. Like it would just lie flat and somebody would stand on the back, and because of course humans lived with dinosaurs, and windsurf on the back of it. I'm putting my 2 cents in now.
Yeah, fair.
Today,
the current consensus is display feature, which, to be fair, is like it's our basic answer for anything we don't know the purpose of, is probably for display.
Yeah.
A lot of stupid things in biology are for display.
Yes, I am aware. Thanks, Peacock. Okay.
Yeah.
Display physical characteristics remarkably similar to those attributed to Megalosaurus and various other supposed dinosaurs, aligning closely with the depiction of giant lizards.
Did you know dinosaurs had a number of features that were similar to other dinosaurs? Did you know that?
Well, he's trying to say that crocodiles, or like dinosaurs, could just be giant crocodiles, which, no.
That's ridiculous.
They're distinct.
No. There's no way.
They are related. Like, crocodilians are the closest non-dinosaur dinosaurs living today, but they're still distinct.
And they're closer to birds than crocodiles.
Well, I mean, birds are dinosaurs, yeah.
Yeah.
But even then, there are features that set birds and crocodiles apart from other living reptiles.
Sure.
Like it's all nested. It's weird how that pattern appears
Yeah.
anytime you study
that fossil
biology.
remains are typically discovered in a disarticulated state, often highly incomplete and fragmented, resembling merely a few scattered pieces of an extensive puzzle. Could these findings
Often,
actually
but not
represent an
always.
Yeah, it does happen often, but occasionally we will find like a pristine fossil and it'll be fantastically, fantastic. I mean, look at the Archaeopteryx one. We even got the feathers with that one. That's incredible. But, we do find these things.
distinct genus within the crocodile family, rather than entirely new and distinct species?
No. No,
Well, it would
absolutely.
have to be more than a genus.
Yeah. Wow. No. Like you'll see like his comparison as skulls. Have you seen that? It's hilarious.
I listened to
Further-
this, so I haven't seen it. No, I'm scared.
Okay. It's
Further
hilarious.
investigation raises a compelling question. Could disarticulated crocodile bones be rearranged into a skeletal structure in any chosen posture, mimicking what is currently recognized as a dinosaur when positioned strategically?
No,
This
No.
possibility
No.
certainly exists.
No.
the bones don't fit that way. Like,
No.
I don't think people appreciate this. Bones fit together?
Yeah. And people that are experts in sort of musculature and bones, that they can fit them together in a way that can be and can't be fit together. Like they'll point at like somebody having to use, there was a skeleton found that they had to use some kind of angle grinder on because of the way it was fused when it died.
Elvis. It had been refossilized into a crumpled state.
Yes. So, like people not these experts know how bones fit together the same as an osteopath knows how human bones fit together. There's not any way to fit human bones together to make a orangutan or something. No, it doesn't work like that. The arms on the orangutan are much longer. The legs are a lot shorter. There's differences in the skull. All these things are true for dinosaurs and crocodiles, right? Like you can't just push it like Play-Doh and make it into something else. That isn't how that works. There is no way to make it.
Like, we have been studying anatomy for centuries now. We
Yes.
know how things fit together.
Yep.
Both
Even if we
historically
might get
and in
some
present times.
tiny details
These
wrong.
bones could even be
But we figured
manipulated
that
into
out.
a
Yeah.
bipedal arrangement, further reinforcing the traditional depiction of dinosaur anatomy.
Can you rearrange crocodile bones to make a bipedal arrangement? I would like to see that, quite frankly. I would like to see
Good luck.
Eric Dubay get a. Hang on, let me just pull up. Let me just pull up a crocodile skeleton, right?
Yep.
Because I want to, I mean, I don't. It is absolutely absurd. Okay. So, I'll just open a new tab. Okay. How exactly do you arrange that to make a bipedal arrangement? Exactly.
I could not tell you.
Right?
This
Right?
is my field. I could not tell. And the funny thing is, we have bipedal crocodiliforms. We actually have a lot of them.
Really?
Modern crocodiles don't do that. But even those bipedal crocodiliforms are completely distinct from dinosaurs.
Well, yeah, but like he's saying that it was anyway. That is ridiculous. What bipedal crocodilians do we have?
Some famous ones. There's Postasuchus, which people might recall from Walking with Dinosaurs, the good one, not the
yeah.
terrible sequel.
I mean, yeah. No, I mean like extant. You don't mean extant crocodilians. You
no.
mean yeah. Okay, gotcha.
They're all extinct as far as I know, though I would
Mm-hmm.
love to see a bipedal one in the flesh. That'd be really cool.
Well, it depends how close you are to it, really.
And posture for many of those we commonly recognize today. Consider the typical crocodile skull, which in many ways bears a striking resemblance to those of many alleged dinosaur species.
Does this have a striking resemblance to many dinosaur skulls?
No, it's actually fairly distinct, and also
Yeah.
Let me look up a picture quick. I'm I'm not sure that's a real skull of any crocodile. Uh, that that might be a weird Deinosuchus skull, which isn't even a living crocodile, a living crocodilian. It's extinct. I think it's Deinosuchus. That's the skull he's showing.
Wow.
That lived alongside dinosaurs, and we know that.
Yeah, but it wasn't a dinosaur.
No.
But you compare it to the like the T-Rex kind of thing. Do you think you could get a T-Rex skull out of that? Right? It was, like
Yeah.
it's just ridiculous. I don't know. Like let's compare it to the T-Rex skull, for instance, right? And I'll grab just a um what's a just a replica or something.
AMNH 5027.
Uh yeah, your codes
Sorry,
don't
that's a
mean much
pretty
to me. I just
standard
want
one.
a good. Okay. Let's see. All right.
When Mark pulls it up, if it looks familiar to... Oh,
Nope.
that's Scotty? Is that Scotty?
I have no idea. It's just a good picture. But, where do you find that compared to this? Right? Like there is
No.
almost no, you know, what? I
Plainly, you can't. I mean, there's a lot of features. Like, if you go back to the Rex really quick,
yeah.
there are some features of the skull that are completely unique to dinosaurs. First off, there is the hole right in front of the orbit, called the antorbital fenestra, unique to dinosaurs. There's a hole in front of that, which I think is unique to theropods. There's specific aspects of how the jaws articulate. They're slightly different between crocodilians and dinosaurs. The structure of the jaw is different. If you go back to the alligator skull, or whatever it is, skull, there's a big hook coming off the back. You don't see that in many dinosaurs, but that's very common in crocodilians.
Right.
And then there's those. It's kind of hard to point out, but right behind where the upper row of teeth ends, there's a huge slab of bone that comes down. That's basically unique to crocodilians, especially aquatic ones. That's part of a palate that they have to help block water from going down the throat, while
Right,
doubling
right.
as a massive muscle attachment point. But you
While
don't
the
really see that in
dinosaur,
dinosaurs.
yeah, doesn't have that.
Yeah, there's a lot of details like that. And
Oh yeah.
if you're not familiar with anatomy, or put it another way, if you don't know what you're talking about,
Mhm.
you don't know it.
Even the teeth do not look similar. Like, they just don't look similar at all. The
No, the
crocodiles is
structure of the
more
teeth is
straight down.
completely
Yeah,
different too. Just
yeah.
within the jaws, it's different.
So it seems to be, oh, this is similar to dinosaurs in it has teeth, eye holes, maybe nasal cavities. You know what I mean? Like it's common to just about every single animal on the face of the planet. It's
Any
just
tetrapod.
right, exactly. So it's kind of this. Well, it's uncannily similar. It's like, well, no, it's not really uncannily so. Like the features that you're describing, we have the same features. Like I don't know what to say, but the idea
If
that you
this
could
movie has a
just
plot, it's like every other movie.
right, exactly, and the idea that you could make this crocodile skull into a T-Rex is just so stupid. It's laughable.
Species.
Yeah.
Now imagine this
So
skull
I will be
as
here. I'm going
fragmented
to
and
close my
highly
curtains.
incomplete,
Okay, sure.
providing ample opportunity for constructing any desired interpretation, which is then depicted in detailed illustrations as a complete skull. We can further acknowledge that different reconstructors inevitably yield different results, clearly illustrating that these attempted reconstructions should not be regarded as accurate to begin with.
I'm pretty sure that most, like T-Rex skulls, for instance, they all look the same. Most, Brontosaurus skulls look the same. I'm not sure, like, if he's saying different dinosaurs look different, so He's basically saying, hey, they reconstruct these crocodiles into all kinds of different dinosaurs, but because they can't reconstruct it well, they have to call them different. No, you idiot. Like a
Yeah.
brontosaurus skull is going to look very different from a T-Rex skull.
And they do. And even
Yeah.
only within like one species. There are at least 24 almost complete T-Rex skulls, if not complete ones. Sue, Stan, Scotty, AMNH 5027. A lot of them are named Jane, or not Coprex. I think it's Magnus. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, and this guy just doesn't know anything about any of them.
Yeah.
It's this is how you guys feel when people talk about flat Earth. It hurts.
Oh, yeah.
Like, no,
Oh,
you
yeah.
idiot. That's not how any of this works.
Correct. But, you know, this is the problem. He's basically some sort of failed yoga teacher, you know, podcaster and you know, conspiracy guy that's just, you know, spouting stuff about things that he has no idea about. The problem is that others believe him, which is so crazy. It's just so wild to me that anybody would look at that skull and go, "Oh yeah, they obviously made a T-Rex skull out of that crocodile." Prove it. Do it yourself and prove it. Get a replica crocodile skull and somehow, without, you know, fragmenting the bone, make a T-Rex skull out of that.
Yeah, and if you go into the comments, a lot of people buy into the crap he says in this video.
Ugh,
It's
wow.
really saddening, honestly.
Well, let's face it, the real reason why they don't want dinosaurs to be real is it's inconvenient for their religious beliefs, essentially. That's the real reason, you know. So, yeah.
It sucks. A T-Rex doesn't care that you're evangelical.
Yeah.
It really doesn't.
This highlights that this particular field of paleontology has historically relied heavily on sheer speculation, conjecture, and imagination in its attempt to depict, illustrate, and bring these ancient creatures to life.
If I lie about the science doesn't work.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, he's basically misunderstanding what a hypothesis is, where you say, hey, here's a hypothesis, we test it, and then we find out if it's incorrect. Like, you know, can we find any other fossil in this configuration? Oh, look, yes, then, you know, obviously that is a configuration that, oh, boy. And I mean, we do speculation about dinosaurs, sure, but nobody claims that, hey, unsettled things are just, you know, true. Nobody's saying they know for sure what a Spinosaurus's spine was used for. They just have arguments over the different hypotheses, which is exactly how science works.
There is an ongoing debate right now over how fast Spinosaurus could swim and if it hunted more like a heron or like a crocodile. That argument may never be solved.
Right.
But people will keep presenting their hypotheses for centuries.
And sort of vocalizations is another one. We try to get an idea through what the throat is like to what vocalization they would make, but we don't know for sure. That doesn't mean we can't speculate on it. It's important, though, not to confuse speculation with knowledge.
And especially with speculation, we're cautious. We will never state something like that as definitive fact.
Mm-hmm.
Although we will probably hedge our bets pretty hard. Like T-Rex probably didn't roar like in Jurassic Park.
Right.
We can make a guess what it did sound like, but we were almost certain it didn't sound like that. But we have evidence to back it up.
Wasn't that an elephant and stuff? They sort of mixed in a whole load of things like a gorilla and an elephant or something and came out with, I can't remember exactly what they did.
So it's actually kind of interesting. The big roar that the Rex does in front of the Jeeps when it first breaks out is a mixture of lion, alligator, and a baby elephant that apparently had a bifurcated trunk. Like it had a weird split trunk.
Oh, that's just cruel.
Sounds kind of weird. Yeah.
That's just cruel. That's exploitation of baby elephants.
Oh.
You look, I'm going to get Dumbo
Well, I
on
mean,
there.
the baby elephant made noises and someone recorded it. Like, people didn't
Okay,
cause
that's
that to
fair.
happen.
Yeah, I know, but it's still.
The existence of dinosaurs was first speculatively hypothesized by a museum head, coincidentally in the mid-19th century during the heyday of evolutionism, before a single dinosaur fossil.
In the heyday of evolutionism.
30 years before Darwin published on the
Yes.
origin of species, by the way.
Yeah. So they were finding these fossils before evolution was even a considered hypothesis, right? So they were finding these and going, how do we explain these? Refer to earlier, as Doc Dino said, Richard Owens thinking that God did a frigging update rollout for his hardware, again
Yeah,
and again and again. Right. So this isn't something, and this is what really annoys me when they're like, oh, these guys back in the 19th, they just brought it up to support evolution. No, they found it first. This is one of the clues that we had to show us that evolution was correct. It wasn't that we had evolution and then went, oh, we're going to make up dinosaurs to prove it. That isn't a thing.
I mean, honestly, it feels like a longer back version of like January 6th deniers. Like,
Right.
just because history is inconvenient for you doesn't mean you can lie about it.
Yep. Yeah.
Had ever been found. The mainstream press and media worldwide got to work hyping stories of these supposed long-lost animals, and then, lo and behold, 12 years later in 1854, Ferdinand Vanderveer Hayden, during his exploration of the upper Missouri River, found proof of Owen's theory. A few unidentified teeth
Yes,
nailed to leading...
only him. Jesus
And all the
Christ.
other people that found fossilized records, yeah.
The tens of thousands of people who have found fossils, and most of them not scientists, by the way. Like, random people find fossils constantly because people like looking for things or going for hikes, and people aren't dumb. They know what bones look like.
Yeah, and I want to sort of, so the way that Eric Dubay is using language here, he's using very specific terms like the hype, right? It suggests that, hey, they put this out with all this hype around it, but that isn't really what was happening. It sort of captured the public's imagination, but they weren't really hyping it up. They were just saying, hey, we found these things, and it captured the imagination of the zeitgeist or the society at the time. They were like, oh, these big monstrous lizards, and they were actually had an inaccurate kind of idea of them, that they were slow and lumbering and sort of weren't really predatory. They had these weird ideas about them, understandably, but it wasn't because the scientists were like, oh, check this out, this is what it was. It was, they put forward what they had found, and it was just a mystery to people. It captured their imagination. So this whole thing about, oh, they hyped it up. No, they didn't. It was just simply, we were turning to methodological naturalism. Naturalists were a thing. They were finding these things and they put out information about it. That's it.
Yeah. And the first wave of dinomania, as it's called, it took years to happen. Like, when it finally happened, it was due to I think it was a park called Crystal Palace, where this company built this grand, beautiful.
That was an
glass
exhibition
building.
center for the World Fair in London.
Yeah, and British scientists were like, hey, we found these things. We can maybe put them here and people will like the statues. And they did.
Right.
And that was years after the discovery of Megalosaurus and Iguanodon and other early dinosaurs.
Yeah, so it was just put in there as a display, right? Like, so they put statues around it. I think I recall reading that at some point, that there was just more a decorative thing, So the World Exhibition was sort of like this, if you've seen Iron Man, the Stark convention or whatever, where it's like, the thing of tomorrow, the world of tomorrow kind of thing, and they have all the futuristic inventions and discoveries there. It was just part of one of those things in London, it was an exhibition palace was built during industrialization called the Crystal Palace, and they used to have this world fair there where they would show off new technology, like, you know, the steam engine and, you know, the washing machine, like you can wash your clothes with a machine kind of stuff, you know. And one of the things they did was just put dinosaurs there because they had found them and people loved them. Yeah.
And it sparked people to start looking in other places,
Yeah.
which led to discoveries all over the world, including in America, which
And a
actually
lot of
took a decent
discoveries.
amount of time to catch on here. Surprisingly.
Yeah, it was England first off. England was the one really hit. England and France actually was massive.
England and Germany.
Germany wasn't? Okay.
Paleontologist Joseph Leidy, who several years later declared them to be from an ancient extinct Trachodon dinosaur, which ironically means rough tooth. Firstly, it should be needless to say that it is impossible to reconstruct an entire hypothetical ancient animal based on a few teeth.
But by this time, we had the jaws for Iguanodon, and the teeth of Trachodon were very similar to Iguanodon. So, early paleontologists hypothesized, not said definitively, hypothesized that Trachodon may have resembled Iguanodon, and lo and behold, they were right.
Because we found more fossils that weren't crocodiles bent out of shape.
Yes.
Wow.
In fact, the dinosaur that they belong to, or at least most likely belong to, is one of the least crocodile-like dinosaurs you can imagine. It's a duckbill.
Like the hadrosaur?
Yeah. Most of them are just teeth, so they're not really diagnostic to a genus, but we know what type of dinosaur they are.
Well, and it's interesting. Like, I would like to ask Eric Dubay how they spot fakes. Like, if all of them are fake, and we've spotted fakes before where people have tried to pass off other bones as dinosaur bones, if they're all fake, how do they spot fakes? I don't understand that.
Well, the ones that are convenient for him aren't the fakes.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Sorry, I forgot. Yes, no, that's fine. That's fine.
I also wonder what he would think of the bone beds we have of tens of thousands of hadrosaurs. That's not a mistake. What I just said, tens of thousands.
Yeah. I mean, this is ignoring evidence on a this man could ignore evidence for his country in the Olympics. Like, I'm deadly serious. You have to be some level. I mean, I think he's an ignoramosaurus, quite frankly, because he is ignoring everything possible. And, you know, I mean, he's just flat out lying based on a few teeth. We didn't base our evaluation of that dinosaur on a few teeth. Get out of here. Like, seriously. Ironic that he's holding up something saying fake news when he's the purveyor of it. You know, like, come on.
He's the one writing it.
Yeah.
But even more importantly, it is dubious that a myriad of ancient reptile, bird, and reptile-mammal transitional forms necessary for the blossoming theory of evolution would be hypothesized and then conveniently discovered by teams of evolutionists and archaeologists purposely out looking to find such fossils.
Okay, we formulated a hypothesis.
Wow.
We went looking for things after the hypothesis was founded, and we found things that fit the hypothesis.
Yes.
What does he think about atoms or germs?
Right, exactly. Wow. Or, you know, finding Neptune, for instance. Wasn't Neptune when Einstein predicted the retrograde due to the theory of relativity, and then we found it did have it.
And it was, I forget which one.
I think it was Neptune. But, like, you know, Ember will know. Ember always knows.
Yeah.
Ember will save me. But the whole point is, it's not like Einstein went out there and put the planet in a certain, you know what I mean? Like, what are you talking about? Like,
Well,
yes,
Mark,
and Darwin didn't
space is
say,
real.
hey, we're going to find exactly this. What he said was, we should find a bird with unfused wing fingers. That's what he said. And we found a bird with unfused wing fingers, and happily, it had a lot of the other traits that reptiles do as well.
Yep. And since then, we've found several hundred more.
Yeah. But when you've got a religion, just keep ignoring that evidence. Just keep on doing it.
And it is even more dubious that such fossils have supposedly existed for millions of years, but were never found by or known to any civilization in the history of humanity until evolutionism's renaissance in the mid-19th century.
We know they were. People
Yep.
just didn't know what they were.
Yeah, and someone mentioned earlier, like for instance, China, they use fossils as dinosaur bones in some of their sort of Chinese medicine, and we want to encourage them to stop doing that. I think it was Billy. Yeah, Billy said, didn't older cultures find dino bones that inspired stories of dragons? Just a different underinformed. Yes, yes, and somebody mentioned it. I think it was Billy that said, "Hey, stop using dinosaur bones as Chinese medicine." Yes, it's a problem because, I mean, I don't blame them as such. They just thought they were dragons. So the idea that, oh, we never found any before the 1900s is patently untrue because we have a history of the Chinese using dragon bones in their medicine.
Yeah, like
So, yeah,
we didn't know that radioactive elements were dangerous in the past. Us knowing they're dangerous now doesn't mean they didn't exist or that they weren't ever dangerous in the past before we discovered it.
right. Yeah, I can't find the comment. I'm sorry. If I got the wrong person, I'm sorry. I think it was Billy. But yeah, there we go. There we go. Older civilizations found dino bones, didn't know what they were, like giant
What?
chickens or dragons. Yeah. Yep.
And Jessica brings up something in the chat. Humans didn't have as much of an incentive to dig underground until the Industrial Revolution.
Right,
I mean,
right.
obviously there were quarries, but for coal, you got to follow it into the earth, so you dig
Yeah.
down.
hmm
Whereas, like, marble quarrying can mostly be done at the surface. So, yeah,
And we
had an
think that,
incentive to dig, and they found things underground.
yeah.
Uh, One of the most famous bone beds of all time is a herd of iguanodon that were found in a coal mine like 200 feet underground.
hmm Yeah, and sort of, we have found them, and civilizations would think of them as giants or dragons or whatever mythological thing you want to throw in here. That may be the source, but we don't know that for sure because it's damn hard to tell. We've got no one to ask. Funnily enough, they didn't hang around for some reason. Can't imagine why.
Weird how that happened.
Yeah, and he's pointing to fakes here, and it's like it is this big conspiracy people that you're pointing out are in a conspiracy that are pointing out the fakes. Why?
And also, who figured out that they were fake again?
Not Eric Dubay, I'll tell you that right now.
No.
Because they can tell that something is not actually a real dinosaur bone. They can tell. They can tell when something is someone trying to pass off, oh, I don't know, a crocodile skull for a dinosaur skull. They can kind of tell, my friend. Wow.
And it's usually pretty easy, too, because people are bad at making fake fossils.
Yeah, yeah.
What motivation, other than a pre-existing agenda, could prompt someone to identify a mere handful of fossils as remnants of an ancient extinct species, and then attempt a reconstruction from such scant remains?
Eric, do bones grow on trees?
Well, and the remains aren't scanned for a start, so that's one falsehood right there. Number two is, like, what agenda, unless those are real bones, we've analyzed them and we went, hey, there were these things living ages ago. The only agenda there is to provide people with facts and information.
And learn.
And learn. Oh, boy. Yeah, so this Archaeoraptor, that was never accepted by the scientific community at all. I remember this. It was never accepted. And I think it was done for some purpose. I can't remember what it was.
So, Archaeoraptor was a fake that was made to sell.
Yes.
since the early 90s, people have been finding a ton of fossils in China, and there was a booming well, there still is a booming fossil market.
Right.
Because farmers can find fossils in their fields and then sell them for like a year's worth of profits. And to be fair, or to be clear, I don't blame the farmers for doing this. They're just doing what they need to support their families.
Yeah.
But people do buy the fakes because people will also make fakes, especially if they think they can make a lot of money. Archaeoraptor was at least 3, maybe up to 5 different skeletons that were pieced together of small bird-like dinosaurs. One of which actually turned out later to be the back half of a completely new species called Microraptor, which since then has proven to be extremely useful for studying the evolution of dinosaurs.
I hate Microraptors. They suck.
They suck in
Interesting.
art, but the real thing is really neat. Microraptor.
They're tiny.
Yeah, they're about the size of a crow, and they're one of the first dinosaurs that we ever determined the color of. Like, we know what color they are.
Oh, what color are they?
They would have been mostly colored like a magpie, like the dark blue iridescent feathers of a magpie.
Oh.
They also had 4 wings, 2 on the arms and 2 on the legs, which was predicted decades in advance, which is pretty cool. And also, it appears to have evolved flight independently of birds. It's just another time that dinosaurs learned how to fly completely independent.
Wow.
Which is really cool to find out.
Did not know that, yeah. So it was published in National Geographic, but even before the publication, there was some severe doubts about its authenticity. Okay, so nobody really studied this, did a paper, and then it was published. It was National Geographic jumping the gun.
Yeah, and the instant an actual paleontologist got their hands on the specimen, they could tell, someone glued a few different skeletons together. Like, it's very easy to tell if you know what to look for.
Apparently, Bill Allen, National Geographic editor, told Nature, and Nature is a scientific publication. Now, National Geographic is pop science, essentially. It isn't a journal or something. It is a it does report science, but it is not a scientific journal. Nature is. That is a scientific journal. But he told Nature that he was furious to learn the fossil might have been faked. The Dr. Yu Jing pointed out that the tail section probably did not match the upper body. In 2000, they published the results by Pulitzer Prize-winning investigative journalist Lewin M. Simmons. He concluded the fossil was composite and that virtually everyone involved in the project has made some mistakes. And this was not validated. This is the problem with publishing science that is not peer-reviewed.
Yeah. And it's just reinforcing one of those early lessons from the 1800s. You need to peer review things.
Yes, absolutely.
How many people peer review flat Earth publications?
They don't publish anything, Doc.
They publish videos. Isn't that enough?
I guess we're doing peer review then. We're peer reviewing Eric Dubay's ridiculous dinosaur claims. So yes, although it pains me to say that we are a peer of Eric Dubay.
Is it? We're grading his assignment, and so far,
10%. F. Like, really, if I could give a lower mark, I would, but there are no lower grades for Eric Dubay. This is motivated ignorance, is what this is.
At least at some universities, you can not be given a letter score if you're under 50%.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
Like, you just get a blank mark, and that's not good.
Yeah, so and I mean, this is the same as like a paper printing a retraction. Like, it's an article. It's not a peer-reviewed paper. It's not anything scientific. It is simply journalism. And yes, scientific journalism, but it's still journalism. It's not like this made it past the experts or anything.
No. the instant anyone qualified looked at it, we knew it was fake.
But they love to quote it because it's National Geographic. Okay, yes, they're pretty reputable, but they're still not a journal. And they get things wrong. That's why they printed a retraction. Like, this is the thing. They just confuse people with things they've heard and their expectations of it. Like, I've heard of National Geographic. They do scientific stuff. Well, they report it. That doesn't mean all of them were fraudulent. All the fossils around the world were fraudulent.
Yeah,
Ridiculous.
and Nat Geo also just gets things wrong sometimes. Like any magazine.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Of years old, assertions made a century before radiometric dating techniques were in development. Instead, they relied on relative dating methods such as stratigraphy and the use of index fossils. These methods, often criticized.
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing wrong with stratigraphy. I don't see, the problem with that. Index fossils, they're only used as a guide. They're not considered to be a particularly exhaustive dating method. They're just like, oh, well, what rough date do we think it's about? And they're a good guide for that. They're not.
No. And no, like, you're right. And even back then, like, people knew we didn't know how old things were. People provided estimates. Some of the earliest estimates for the age of the Earth were like 100,000 years, maybe a couple million. And over time, we learned better dating techniques until we finally got radiometric dating. And as soon as we figured that out, we were instantly at around 4.5 billion. We weren't as exact as we are today, but as soon as we found a clock to work with, we were right on the money. And everything since then has only corroborated that value. Like, if radiometric dating could be proven wrong, it would have been. It's had a lot of scrutiny, but it always works.
Yeah. And I mean, the argon lead is like the nail in the coffin for any argument. In zircon crystals, that is the nail in the coffin for any sort of it doesn't work. Is it uranium lead?
It's uranium lead, potassium argon,
Potassium
argon,
you're right.
and a few others that are considered like the most reliable.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of reasons for that.
Well, I mean, the one that I know is sort of, if lead is in the structure, zircon won't form. Like, it just will not form. So that lead could not have been there in the formation. It can't have been.
Yeah, it's more so that because the way zircons and most minerals grow, they grow from a nucleus and spread outward. Like, they can't form a shell and close in. They have to grow out. Lead is just rejected from the crystal matrix as it forms.
Right.
There's a chance of getting trace amounts of lead in there, but it is literal atoms worth.
Which is why we have it in the margin of
gets
error.
accepted pretty readily.
Okay, yeah. Beautiful.
Sized for their imprecision
It's just
and
weird,
susceptibility
but it happens.
It's just the chemistry of it. Yeah.
to circular reasoning faced inherent challenges in providing accurate dating estimations.
I don't know many scientists that would draw an animal like this. Like, seriously, this is Eric Dubay sitting down and drawing what he thinks it would be interpreted as. It's like, okay,
what this is a meme. So there was a book that came out called All Yesterdays. Came out I want to say 20-ish years ago now, which is weird to say. But it was a speculative look back at life on Earth. Just saying, like, hey, what if life lived like this? Like, it showed behaviors and like color patterns, all kinds of things you wouldn't normally see. At least for most depictions. And it was really cool. It was a thought experiment. And there's a section in All Yesterdays where the writer and illustrator drew modern animals using methods that old paleo artists used, like in the 1800s,
Right, right.
and showed like, hey, we need to base our reconstructions on modern data and our understanding of anatomy.
Mm.
People have misunderstood that section to say that all reconstructions are arbitrary, and that's not the case. Like, we know
Eric Dubay got something wrong? Are you serious?
he misunderstood a misunderstanding,
Wow.
is what Eric Dubay did.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
We're 2 levels deep in mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
Further perpetuating the conjectural narrative surrounding dinosaurs. As an example, we will examine the first illustration of the very popular Tyrannosaurus rex, shown here, published shortly after its discovery in 1905. Looking closer clearly demonstrates the significant conjecture prevalent in the early days of dinosaur research. Initially, scientists relied on highly limited evidence, only parts of the skull, a few jaw fragments, several ribs, scattered vertebrae, and assorted bone fragments. Upon its first discovery, the Tyrannosaurus rex fossils accounted for only an estimated 15% of its entire skeleton, which were used to reconstruct and depict its image.
We have a complete T-Rex skeleton, don't we? We have absolutely a complete one.
We have several that are over 85% complete.
Yeah, yeah.
And also, that's all conjecture. That's all making stuff up. No, that reconstruction is fitting the bones we had into a generalized theropod skeleton. Because guess what? We could tell that there was a distinct group of dinosaurs called a theropod that walked on 2 legs and ate meat. And by 1905, we had at least half a dozen complete skeletons of theropods.
Mm-hmm.
So, hey, we found this new thing. It's fragmentary, but we know what group it broadly belongs to.
Yeah.
Let's hesitantly fill in the gaps with the material that we do have. And you know what? If you could go back to that illustration, I think it was about 5 seconds ago. What do you know? Other than a few tiny details, this is basically exactly what a T-Rex skeleton looks like.
Pretty accurate, yeah. I mean, it's like if you find like a new species that sort of is very similar to a weasel and all you've got is the skull. Well, you can tell what it is, and you can probably make some pretty highly accurate estimations of what its body would be just from the family, or as he says, the genus that it is in. Yeah. Yeah, because funny thing,
have some
Eric.
tiny details wrong, but
Right. But funny thing, Eric, things of the same genus generally look pretty similar. Don't know if you've noticed, alligator and crocodile. Well, if we never knew what an alligator was and found its skull and went, hey, this looks like a crocodile, it probably had a body that's pretty similar to a crocodile. Lo and behold, we would be right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of weird that we learned to know things.
Assorted bone fragments. Upon its first discovery, the Tyrannosaurus rex fossil was used to reconstruct and depict its image. From this scant evidence, reconstructing a complete depiction of the animal and then declaring it a new species required a degree of faith and speculation bordering.
And the fun thing is, the skull he just showed was the T-Rex I've mentioned a couple times now, AMNH 5027. That was a second skeleton that was found, I think, the same year with a nearly complete skull. And a lot of other parts of the skeleton that let us know it was the same animal as the original.
And I mean, the funny thing is he's showing, almost complete skeletons. These, the skull's there because that's all we found. But these are probably replicas, because they usually don't like to put the originals out on display that often. But
not quite. We like to show as many original bones as we can. The big thing is sometimes they're just too fragile to be out on display, and those ones get put in storage. Or in the case of the skull in the case he just showed, that's the actual skull. The one on display here is a replica, because the real skull weighs over half a ton.
Yeah.
Like, it's just way easier to display something that weighs 100 pounds than 1,000 pounds. It's
But
a
the whole
logistical.
point is that he's saying that we don't have all this evidence while literally filming, the replica of the evidence that we do have. Like, they're not, if you need them to produce the evidence, they can. This is just for education.
Yeah, like this skeleton was, I want to say 40% complete when it was found, and the reconstruction is based on the dozens of other T-Rexes we've found since.
Yeah.
Many of which, again, or at least some of which, are over 80% complete.
I know Sue is
So-
over 80% complete. That was an incredible
Yes.
find. Yeah. So, I don't know how he tries to sort of explain this as, a highly manipulated crocodile skeleton. It's just ridiculous. Like, it's just one of the
Well,
stupidest
because
things
he
I've ever
doesn't know
heard.
what he's talking about.
Well, yeah, I know that, but it's just for someone to articulate that in the open air without blushing is just incredible. Whew.
On the farcical. Most notably, the absence of arms and legs among the discovered fossils raises critical questions about the far-reaching assumption that this creature was bipedal. Interestingly,
Eric,
the
you
minimal
showed
changes
its
in the
fin
depiction of the
bones
Tyrannosaurus
with
rex
hips.
from its
That tells us it's bipedal. It had legs in the illustration.
Yeah. And we found their legs and their arms. Do you think they were a snake? Or do you think that they just sort of added it's just so weird. It's just so weird. Like, he will find any excuse to say, "Hey, this was just a crocodile skeleton."
Yeah.
Wow.
original 1905 illustration up to modern day, despite numerous subsequent fossil
Oh,
discoveries
also,
challenge
side note, I've been there. I've seen that skeleton. There's a plaque right in front of it that says, "This is a replica skull." So him filming it like that, like, "Ooh, this one's not real." Yeah, Eric, you read that on the sign right in front of its face.
Yeah, and they won't be shy about it. Will say,
Well,
"Hey, this is a replica."
and in fact, to the people in the audience, if you go to a museum, if you want to know which bones are original and which are replicas, the replicas will have the armature wire going through them because they're fake, they're resin, they can just be drilled through. The real bones will be held in a cradle so they can be removed for study. At least at most museums.
Yeah,
Most
I would
good
hope.
museums.
Yeah. Yeah.
the likelihood that such speculative interpretations could have been so accurate on the first attempt. This scenario
They
underscores the need for
Yeah, as this said, but there were minor errors in the representations, and we've corrected a lot of them as time goes on. I mean, they've even changed some of the positioning of some of the bones as we've learnt more about them, or had other fossils turn up. Like, this is the thing, when things die, they don't usually, like, do a Da Vinci's Vitruvian Man to show us exactly how they are. They usually curl up, which can provide problems. But that's what paleontology is about. It's exactly what it's about. And as more fossils come in, we can update our knowledge. I wish Dubay would update his knowledge. Holy crap. Oh, man, this guy, I don't know how much of this I can stand, to be honest with you. It's ridiculous.
caution
That's
and
fair.
critical evaluation
I-
in paleontological interpretations, especially when based on such highly incomplete data. Given that the original depictions were based solely on imaginative interpretations of so few fossils discovered, it is surprising how little they have evolved into more accurate representations, despite the continual discovery of alleged new fossils. David Wozni, an American writer, said, "Why were there no discoveries by Native Americans in all the years previous when they roamed the American continents? There is no
There
belief
were.
in dinosaurs.
There were.
They just didn't
Your
know what they
ignorance does
were.
not mean that you.
Yeah,
Sorry, pain.
yeah. Yeah, so just a quick search. It sort of says Native Americans often encountered and interacted with fossil remains, sometimes incorporating them into their cultural understanding and oral traditions.
Yep,
Yeah.
because people weren't stupid in the past.
Indigenous peoples in North America have long been aware of fossils, including those of large mammals like mammoths and mastodons. For example, in 1739, Abenaki guides helped French explorers locate mastodon remains among the Ohio River. So they absolutely knew about fossils. Like, damn, Dubay. Ah, damn.
Will
Oh,
he get
dear.
anything right in this video? I don't
No,
think he
I
will.
think Dubay's vision is based on your chakras. You've got to hide your chakras from Dubay, or else he's gonna find you.
In the Native American religion or tradition. For that matter, why were there no discoveries prior to the 19th century in any part of the world? According to the World Book Encyclopedia, before the 1800s,
Let's see. Pterodactylus, I believe, was named in the 1700s.
Right.
Oh, well, okay, my bad. 1812. But I know there were pterosaurs. Oh, wait. Nope. 1784, but it was given a different name in 1812. So no, Eric, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. So, and I know that they think that the Cyclops myths of ancient Greece may have come from a mammoth skull, where the trunk, the one eye, is actually the nasal cavity for the trunk of it. So that's what they. So yes, people found fossils all over the place. Like, he just doesn't understand that when people didn't know what they were, they may have called them dragons or ogres or cyclops or anything of these sort of mythological things, but that doesn't mean they didn't find them. They just didn't know what they were. Like, he's basically saying, why didn't somebody report dinosaurs before we knew what dinosaurs were?
That is exactly what he's saying.
Are you an idiot? Don't answer that.
Yes.
Don't answer that. Yes, absolutely he is. This is ridiculous.
no one ever knew that dinosaurs ever existed. During the late 1800s and early 1900s, large deposits of dinosaur remains were discovered in western North America, Europe, Asia, and Africa. Dinosaur deposits also lie in Belgium, Mongolia, Tanzania, West Germany, and many other parts of the world.
Oh yeah, all over the world, really. I mean, yeah. Australia, everywhere. Funny that.
Yeah, weird
Why
how
has
that
man
happens.
suddenly made
No, but don't tell Hovind. He thinks that pterosaurs were definitely hanging out with the Confederate Army.
No, that's his dumb protege who I
Matt
like.
Powell?
Matt. Yeah, that's Matt.
Yeah.
all these discoveries? The land areas of Belgium, Mongolia,
don't
Tanzania,
soil
Western Germany,
Jurassic
and the
Park.
Americas as well were inhabited and very well explored for thousands of years.
Can I just point out that this wasn't their dinosaurs weren't even based upon like dinosaur fossils. They were based upon the DNA taken from insects inside amber, so they're not even related. Like, this isn't even related to what he's talking about. Can I just point that out?
And that's said explicitly in at least the book.
Oh yeah, it's said in the movie as well. I'm sure it's said in the movie. They sort of do a how did we get these dinosaurs kind of thing, and it was like insects in amber.
Yeah, they're filled in with frog DNA, which wouldn't be my choice, but actually,
why not go for bird
exactly
DNA? I don't seriously. Why not go for bird DNA?
So back when Crichton wrote the first novel, birds being dinosaurs was supported but more speculative than it is now.
Right. Yeah.
And it's never been explicitly stated by him, but it's hypothesized that the reason why he went with frog DNA was because of a particular genus of frog that was very important in medicine, has been used as a model organism.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the novel, the frog that they got the DNA from is that model organism frog, Xenopus.
Right. Okay. Oh, interesting.
And there were
There's also a section in the book where Hammond and Dr. Wu get in an argument because Wu wants to make a new model of the dinosaurs that's slower and more conventional and safer.
Yep. And he's
Hammond
like, it has to be the
thing.
real thing. Yeah. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Discoveries until the 19th century. Why? Wayne Grady, the American journalist, wrote, "The period following this, from around 1870 to 1880, became a period in North America where some of the most underhanded shenanigans in the history of science were conducted. In what was known as the Great Dinosaur Rush, or Bone Wars.
Yeah, they actually stole each
That's-
other's fossils and stuff like that. You know why?
Because they were two men with bad egos.
And they were
And-
also valuable.
It was more their own egos, but
Well, yeah,
also
but people
one of
people
them can
did
only be
steal.
generously be called a scientist.
Well, yeah, but I think that people in general did steal fossils and look for bones because they became valuable. Like it wasn't like, they just it was because they were so valuable that people started doing it,
Edward Drinker
Part
Cope
of the reason, yeah.
Yeah.
the Academy of Natural Sciences, and Othniel Marsh of the Peabody Museum of Natural History began a lifelong rivalry and passion for dinosaur hunting. They started out as friends, but became bitter enemies during a legendary feud involving double-crossing, slander, bribery, theft, spying, and destruction of bones by both parties. Marsh is said to have discovered over 500 different ancient species, including 80 dinosaurs, while Cope discovered 56. Out of the 136 dinosaur species supposedly discovered by the two men, however, only 32 are presently considered valid.
Yeah, but that's because they were amalgamated. Like we realized they were the same ones. Like this is the thing. We doesn't mean that all of them were fake. That's what he's suggesting here. Oh, they were fake, and they had to. No, that's not what we're saying. We're saying, hey, this was actually part of the same group. That's actually one of these ones. What they did is they went out of their way to find as many bones as possible and just name it a new species, right?
Yeah.
Just say, hey, this is
Cope
new.
was especially bad at that.
Right. But then we found out, oh, well, this is actually not new. So that's why. But they were trying to one up each other on the amount they found. So that's, a motivation for doing it.
And the really weird thing is, at least Cope was actually really good with modern animals. It's just with fossil animals that he kept screwing up. But most of his modern animal species are still valid today, and he named over 1,000 of them, I think.
Yeah.
Not to say he was a good person, he was also a very rabid eugenicist, but
Yeah, not a good person, but a good paleontologist.
Good biologist.
Yeah, okay. Fair enough.
There's a distinction that I will make with that regarding Cope.
The rest have all been proven to be falsifications and fabrications.
No, they're not. No, they're
Oh.
not. No, they're not fabrications or falsifications. They're just ones that have been discovered before. That's all. And,
Yeah.
they just wanted the notoriety for discovering a new species. This is a complete and utter misrepresentation. I think Dubay knows it, like he's just trying to make it sound like, oh, they made up all of these fossils, they didn't really exist, or they were fake. And it's like, no, that's not what they were. They were just previously discovered. So they named them something new, and it's like, oh no, somebody over in this part of the area or this part of America already discovered that dinosaur. So, we're going to call it that instead of whatever the hell you made up a name for. Wow, what this guy, I swear, got a lie to flirt, right?
Apparently. And just
Yeah.
like the story of the Bone Wars is an interesting story, and it's a very good cautionary tale. Like this was during the growing pains part of paleontology, and we learned a lot of valuable lessons.
Yeah.
None of them once claimed.
Hopefully they learn some lessons on professionalism, but somehow I doubt it, And that happens. You get academic rivalries. It happens. It's just, sometimes it's good. Sometimes it's not, because they did discover a lot of dinosaurs.
They did, but I will say their story is used as a cautionary tale in most introductory paleo classes. Like, hey, be passionate, but don't be an idiot.
Yeah. To this day, a complete dinosaur skeleton has never been found. That is not correct. That is a lie. That is not correct. All dinosaurs on display in museums are imaginative reconstructions. No, they're not. No, they're either replicas of what we have, or they are the actual thing. Like you said, sometimes they do display the actual thing. And he took footage of an actual T-Rex skull. Oh boy.
Yes. In a case that explains that the one on display is a replica. And just didn't think to mention it.
Yep.
Claimed to find a complete skeleton either, so all their work involved reconstructions. In fact, to this day, no complete skeleton has ever been found, and so all dinosaurs are reconstructions. Discoveries and excavations most typically seem not to be made by disinterested people, such as farmers, ranchers, hikers, outdoor recreationalists, building construction.
Yeah, the funny thing
That is the opposite of the truth.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that also they don't really know what they're looking for. So they'll hit bones and then go and call somebody who knows how to identify them. Like, it's amazing the amount of dinosaur bones that have been found by construction. You know, like just
Oh, absolutely.
they're just digging, trying to do a foundation, and they go, "Oh, this is a massive bone. Think this could be a dinosaur? No idea. Let's go and call somebody." Because, how are you supposed to evaluate that?
Yeah, and people are curious and want to know if they found something
Yeah.
neat.
Yeah.
Because humans are curious animals.
Yup.
Industry basement excavators, pipeline trench diggers, and mining industry personnel, but rather by people with vested
The three
interests.
main ways fossils are found, by the way.
Yep. Like he just because he's never heard of somebody doing construction or digging a pipeline and finding dinosaur bones doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. It's just he's unaware that it happens. That's all. What? And you can go and like volunteer to join a paleo dig yourself. I mean, you won't be able to get in the trenches, as it were, but you can certainly like volunteer and learn about it. Not that Eric Dubay would ever do that, but you can definitely.
I mean, like, I just Googled normal people or normal person finding fossils.
Yeah.
The first page is just filled with stories of everyday people making fossil discoveries. A girl from England finds giant ichthyosaur with her dad. A mammoth found digging a basement. Like, guides on how to find fossils yourself. Like,
Yeah.
this is a hobby that thousands of people all over the world partake in.
Yeah.
Ah,
Excuse me, this is Eric Dubay. The truth will not be allowed around here. Thank you very much, sir. That is not something that.
apparently.
Yeah. No, we don't deal in such things around here. You have to. It's all a conspiracy. Yes, that little girl was in on a conspiracy with allegedly her dad. That was a fake dad. It was an
Oh, yes,
actor
a fake dad.
hired to pretend to be her dad for Big
Oh.
Dino. Holy crap!
Big Dino.
Big Dino.
Such as
Big
paleontologists.
Dino is
scientists,
why I have to have a second job in order to support my paleontology.
Absolutely. That's absolutely.
scientists, university
and
professors.
Actually, good question in the chat by Aunt Jer. Who is the appropriate person to call when you find bones when doing construction? That's a great question. Depending on where you are, you can call your local university with a geology department or museum. Most museums have someone on staff to check out fossils and do public outreach. You can take a picture, send them the picture with an email, or call them, tell you found something, and they'll give you more details. Or, depending on what country you're in, there is a specific department in the government to call. Here in the US, it's the Bureau of Land Management, or BLM, though I think you can also call the Department of the Interior. There's an equivalent one for Canada, England, and most other developed countries.
Yeah,
So
and I
just
think at the end of the day,
look
if
up
you just
who to
can't-
call for your country, and
Right.
you can call them.
Well, I think
question.
just calling your local government as well to say, hey, who do I call in my area is often a good idea as well, kind of thing, because they should be able to direct you to the necessary authority. I know it's a pain in the ass.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I was about to say, and Left-Handed Jedi got there before me, but I was going to say, it depends if they're human or not. If they're human, you probably should call the police. Well, it happens all the time. Like, people will be doing construction and bang, human skeleton there, and they don't know whether it's from, a few years ago or from the 1800s or something, and it's like, how do we now proceed? In that case, call the police. but it might not be
Yes.
evident, whether it is human or not. It may not look like it. So it becomes interesting, of who you call. So sort of
When in
calling,
doubt, you can just call the cops, and
yeah,
they'll send out forensics analysts who can tell if it's human or not.
yeah. But it is a really good question, aren't you?
Yeah. And
Yeah.
I, granted, I'm at home right now, but back where I usually am, out in Wyoming, like, people find fossils on their land all the time, and I have been called to look at fossils on people's private land, like, to see what it is. I've met local people who have found dinosaurs on their property,
Yeah.
and being the first scientist to see it is really cool.
No, Eric Dubay says that doesn't happen. Your fake life doesn't convince him. Just leave it. Leave it where it is probably the
Well,
best way to go.
aren't flat
Moving it
earthers all about personal testimony?
Oh, apparently so. Unless that testimony conflicts with what they believe in the Bible, and then they're not for personal testimony. Personal testimony is a big conspiracy at that point. So, it depends.
That's fair. I
Depends.
forgot about that.
Yeah. It
little
depends on
detail.
whether it supports them or not,
And museum organization personnel, who were intentionally looking for dinosaur bones, or who have studied dinosaurs previously. Do dinosaur professionals with vested interests have some kind of well-kept secret about knowing where to search that dinosaur amateurs without vested interests are unable to figure out?
Ask us, and we'll gladly tell you.
Yeah.
Like again, normal people find dinosaurs. Google that. I found like 6 videos telling normal people how to look for fossils. It's so.
They want people to find fossils. They don't want to keep it this
Please.
secret. They want people to find fossils because eventually that will make its way to them in general, and they'll be able to look at the cool bones and, I don't know, taste them. I don't know what paleontologists do with bones. I
We
presume
do lick bones.
they do lick bones. So, eventually they can get their happiness investigating these bones. So they're not opposed to people finding them. And people do. So all of this is just horse crap by Dubay, which is not surprising in the slightest. Wow, how can somebody be this ignorant? Like, it's impressive, actually.
Well,
It is
because
really
he's lying.
impressive. Well, that's true. He's either incredibly ignorant or lying his ass off. And yeah, maybe lying his ass off is
The safe
rapper
bet.
and liar extraordinaire. Wow, what an idiot.
Oh, and sorry, another good. Well, sorry, first, Aunt Jer, I meant the Bureau of Land Management, not Black Lives Matter, though Black Lives do matter. And for left-handed Jedi, should you leave the fossils in situ or move them?
I said leave it.
Yes, please call someone. Do the Boy Scout motto: take only pictures, leave only footprints. If you're not sure, in many areas it is illegal to take fossils out of the land. At least vertebrate fossils like bones. Most places you can collect seashells or petrified wood, and the government doesn't care. But if it has a bone, you need to call. And usually it's just good practice anyway, because you might have found something really neat,
Yeah.
And a lot of fossils are very fragile, like very fragile.
Who legally has the right to a fossil that's found on your property?
That depends on your country.
Right.
In most U.S. states, the landowner owns the fossil.
Okay. Yeah.
But not always. Different countries have different rules.
Yep. Okay. Just a good question.
Yeah.
Finds are often
good
made during
question.
special dinosaur bone hunting trips and expeditions by these people to faraway regions already.
You can go out and hunt for bones. Do you know that's a thing you can do?
I did not know that. I haven't done that myself since I was 8 years old.
Do you know anyone can do that? Like, I don't know, a little girl and her dad, but
No, my grandmother never had a rock garden growing up that was filled with coral.
wasn't like one of the most prolific fossil hunters, the seashells, Mary, what's her name?
Mary Anning. She was a
Mary
very
Anning,
famous
yeah.
fossil hunter.
And she wasn't a scientist. She was just a person that liked fossils. So she went out and grabbed them. And she actually sold fossil seashells. And that's where the rhyme comes from.
Yes, her and her family were actually a whole family of fossil hunters who
Mm.
did sell fossils, but it's a similar situation to the farmers in China I talked about.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
how they made their living. They were incredibly poor her entire life, sadly.
Yeah.
But no, she found the first ichthyosaur. She found the first
Yeah.
complete plesiosaur. She found the first British pterosaur.
Mm.
Uh,
Yeah, amazing
she made
stuff.
so many famous, important discoveries.
Mm. Yeah.
And in paleo circles these days, she's sort of an inspirational figure for a lot of people from
Inhabited and
underrepresented backgrounds. Which is kind of neat.
Excuse me, I'm sorry. Just had to sneeze. I'm allergic to bullshit. I'm sorry. Not you. Debay is triggering my allergies. Yeah.
I was
I'm
gonna say, if
allergic
I ever
to.
have a daughter, I'm gonna name her Marianne. Okay.
Nice. Yeah, no, I like that name. That's fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
You know what? I was having this conversation with Lynn, my wife, the other day. If we ever had children, which we're not going to, but I hate Lulu as a name. I loathe that name. I don't know why. I just
Really?
really hate it. Yeah. Like we were talking about Isabel and a couple of others, are really, really cool. But yeah, I hate Lulu. It just nobody should be called that. Maybe that's because a loo is a toilet in Australia. You go to the loo.
I mean, I guess, but the only person I know named Lulu is a character from Final Fantasy X.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I
Gotcha.
don't think that counts.
No, probably not. I just don't like the name. That's all. I don't have to
Fair.
explain myself to you or Eric Dubay. Thank you very much.
explored. This seems highly implausible. More believable is the case of the discovery of the first original Dead Sea Scrolls in 1947, which were unintentionally discovered by a child, and which were all published by 1955. In some cases of discoveries of dinosaur bones by people who do not work in a job related to dinosaurs,
You know what? I've seen Hovind use this one and get
Mhm.
models and go, oh, they couldn't possibly have mated. And it's like, you do know they laid eggs, right?
I mean, so this has actually been a question and topic of research. How
Mhm.
did dinosaurs get it in? Um, Here's the thing. Living animals aren't plastic toys.
Yep.
Believe it or not, your limbs can move,
Mhm.
including tails. Not
Yeah.
only that, it is entirely possible that most non-avian dinosaurs had a penis. Like, most of the large ground-dwelling birds today do to get
Yeah.
around this problem.
Mhm.
Like, it's not that hard.
No,
I mean,
I
it's kind of
don't.
a fun meme, but it's not hard.
Mhm.
Unlike the dinosaur.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it was hung like a tapir. You don't know.
Absolutely. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
it was suggested to them by some dinosaur professional to go look or dig in a certain area. Also, very
I mean, cows can still mate, and they're huge as well. It's just this. Wow.
Yeah. Cows, rhinos, elephants.
Elephants. Yeah. Come on.
interesting to note are special areas set aside and designated as dinosaur parks, for which amateur dinosaur hunters are required to first obtain a dinosaur hunting license. The previous quotes
No,
provide an insightful
Eric.
glimpse.
No, they aren't. You can just go there. Like, he's
Yes.
talking about places like Dinosaur Provincial Park in Canada. No, you can just go there. You
Yeah.
need a permit if you want to dig them up because they're fragile and
Mhm.
valuable to science.
Yeah. But
Like,
you can
we're
go there
careful
and
with our
look for
natural
them.
resources.
But this is like that, you can't go to Antarctica without a permit, right? This is a flat earther trope. Like, you're not allowed to
Oh,
investigate the evidence. And we're like, well, you can go to Antarctica, you can go and investigate. No, you can't. It's this faith-based, well, I'm not allowed to go investigate myself. And it's like, no, you can. There's just like
you
most
can
things,
though.
there's probably going to be some constraints to it. I mean, after the
Yeah,
final experiment, you saw people saying, oh, they weren't allowed to just wander wherever they would like. And it's like, not because they wanted to stop them. They just had to say where they're going first because there's crevasses and it's dangerous. And having
it,
some flat earther wander off and die isn't good for your 5-star reviews.
And like the average summer temperature in Antarctica is like -20 Celsius. Humans don't last long in that environment.
No. So, but they were allowed to go anywhere. They just had to say where they were going first so that the surveyors could check it out and make sure they wouldn't, die. It's wild. It's absolutely wild,
Into the early history of dinosaur hunting and offer a preview of what we can anticipate in the future as new discoveries come to light. While it would be entirely incorrect to deny the existence of extinct species from our past, many of which have been well documented, it is essential to recognize the extremely unreliable and imaginative nature of this particular field of paleontology and its history. A distinct pattern emerged.
So so when you consider like the fossils of megafauna, for instance, like Megatherium and saber-toothed tigers and stuff, what evidence do we have of them that would say, hey, they existed, and not of dinosaurs? It's not like we've got any like anything more than the fossils for these animals to say, hey, they existed, like the giant sloth, the Megatherium, right? We just know that it existed because of the fossils, not because we've got any more evidence than for a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
I mean, the only thing I can think of is we have some unfossilized feces, but that's about it.
Well, that raises a bigger question. If the Earth is 6 to 10,000 year old, why don't we have fossilized feces for T-Rex? Why do we only find it fossilized?
Yeah, good question. He'll never answer it, but good question.
Well, yeah, of course not. But that's the whole point. Like, you're basically saying, hey, we've only got skeletons and a lot of it is conjecture. Hate to break it to you, but a lot of that megafauna is conjecture as well. Like, we have to go, okay, well, we don't know exactly what
rules,
their fur was like. By exactly the same rules. So, for one that disagrees with his sort of biblical narrative, he's going to toss that out. And the other one, he's going, well, no, that one's okay and they're extinct.
Okay. Okay, buddy.
Yeah, cherry picking a bit. I will say that.
Suggesting that dinosaur discoveries predominantly occur within the realm of vested interests and experts in paleontology. This pattern is in stark contrast to the absence of such discoveries before paleontology.
I just want to know what vested interests, like big, is it all the mad cash that they're making? Like all of that mad dollars. You're pulling in the big bucks, like they don't make that much, my friend. Like, seriously. It's wild to hear someone who's running a conspiracy theory channel talk about other people's vested interests because they make a lot of money off this crap.
Paleontology was recognized as a scientific discipline, and the complete lack of dinosaur evidence in the historical records of ancient civilizations. Furthermore, even in modern times.
So, ancient civilizations didn't know what dinosaurs were, so therefore dinosaurs didn't exist.
I mean, I'm just not even sure what to say, to be honest with you. But at least nothing else to say that we haven't already said.
Yeah.
Times, the rate of new dinosaur discoveries, whether by vested or non-vested parties, remains notably rare, underscoring even more of this truly intriguing pattern. In a critical observation, it is noteworthy that despite claims of over 1,000 dinosaur species once inhabiting the Earth, a significant majority.
We got like 1,100 or something like that. 1,100, I think, is about the number of dinosaur species out there.
If not more. Are we counting birds? Because if we're counting birds, we're in the tens of thousands, I think.
Fair enough. Yeah, no, fair.
Majority of these discoveries occurred within a relatively narrow time frame. Intriguingly, this period.
A relatively narrow time frame?
Really now.
What?
I don't know.
Like, we're talking millions of years, right? Like, we're not talking, maybe he's talking about the biblical thing, like a few thousand years.
Or is he saying the discoveries have occurred in a narrow strip of time?
That's what he was saying. I don't think that's what he was saying. Hold it.
that despite claims of over 1,000 dinosaur species once inhabiting the Earth, a significant majority of these discoveries occurred within a relatively narrow time frame.
Okay, yeah, so he's talking about when they were discovered. Well, yeah, it's only been modern times since we didn't look before then.
Mm.
I
It's weird
what?
that once we started learning about how the Earth works, we started learning how to find stuff within it. I wonder if there were any
Amazing.
digging-based industries that really picked up in the 1800s.
It's kind of like the ancient people didn't find much, uranium. So uranium must not exist. Like, come on, dude, seriously? He cannot be this stupid. Like, seriously, he
No,
can't
he
be.
can't be. He's just lying.
Yeah, no, he can't be this stupid. Like, you would not be able to walk outside without your underpants on your head if you were this stupid. Like, seriously.
Yeah.
Intriguingly, this period coincided with, or suspiciously aligned with, the era when the theory of evolution was fast gaining popularity and acceptance.
The era of
Despite the
scientific
momentous advancements in modern
discovery.
excavation.
Yeah.
Yes. We started learning things and learning how to learn things, and then we learned things.
Yeah.
How crazy.
You know that the number of cars only appeared once we had, like, the late modern era? Why didn't ancient
Cars
people
must prove
have cars?
evolutionism somehow.
Apparently so. Fucking ridiculous, like, absolutely ridiculous.
Technology, and during the most populated period in world history, discoveries of dinosaur fossils.
But every single period of history is the most populous in history as you go along. It's very rare for the population to go backwards.
As we started having more people, people started finding things. No kidding.
Wow. Yeah, like I said, he cannot be this stupid. Like, there's no possible way that you can say, hey, it's a big, it's suspicious that as we grew in population and has scientific understanding, we suddenly found things that we hadn't found before. Or they had found before, but we didn't know they were dinosaurs. What the hell is wrong with this person? This is insane. Like, seriously, this is a fundamentalist fail on a whole nother level, Doc. This is incredible. I'm so glad you found this. As he shows evidence of the dinosaurs.
Well,
Yeah.
Mark, what you might love
Yeah.
more is apparently he has a full movie about this.
Really?
He
Wow.
mentions a movie he made about this topic.
Have seemingly become increasingly rare. Furthermore, when such fossils are found, they are typically not discovered organically by neutral parties, such as construction crews or site builders, but rather by those directly involved in paleontology.
No, they're not. Usually they're found by some random people who call in paleontologists. Like, seriously?
Everything you said is wrong.
Yeah.
I can't even sing it to the Weird Al song. It's that bad.
Yeah, so in Brisbane, Australia, construction workers uncovered a group of fossils estimated to be 50 million years old. San Pedro High School. Millions of marine fossils were found under the school grounds by construction workers. Fossils from the Ice Age, including a rare mammoth in Denver, Central 70 Project, were discovered during subway extension work. Well, why didn't they find fossils when they were building subways back in the Roman times?
They didn't dig 2 feet to the left, which we did 1,000 years later.
Wow. Dinosaur Ridge in Colorado. Dinosaur tracks were found when crews were building a highway. Like, come on, dude, seriously? What the fuck is wrong
Sterling
with you?
Nash in the chat talked about a high school friend of theirs that found a plesiosaur in their hometown. This stuff happens, Eric. And you know it happens. You just like your audience brainwashed and ignorant.
Yeah, don't question it. Don't actually look up and find if this is true or not. Just believe the guy, because it's all a conspiracy. Even if you do look it up, I'm sure all of those students in the construction crews, they weren't real construction crews. They were scientists who would disguise their lab coats by painting it, neon bright colors for night work. That's what it was.
Those weren't real students. They don't have student loans.
Right. Yeah. They weren't real students. They were government plants to make us think dinosaurs are real. Get out of here, dude. Wow.
Efforts to access and examine original dinosaur fossils, whether from museum exhibits or custodians claiming to possess them, are systematically denied.
Museums
regardless of one's
sell tickets to backstage tours to visit their collections. Most of the time, you can just go there if you ask politely. Is that your issue, Eric?
Well, I don't know. I mean, Eric seems a bit unhinged. I don't know if someone like him would manage to get access to them, because there are a few crazy people out there, and they have to be aware that some fundamentalist nutbag may actually try to destroy them because they're a fundamentalist nutbag. Unfortunately.
True. That's true.
Stop being part of the problem, dude. Seriously. Stop being part of the problem, Dubay. Ugh. Wow.
I'm not sure he physically can.
Yeah, I'm not sure he physically can either.
Affiliation with scientific or paleontological fields. This field of paleontology remains closely guarded, with limited participation resembling more of an exclusive fraternity than an open scientific pursuit. Although I was once captivated by the...
I have literally participated in public outreach events where we had to beg people to visit us.
Yeah. Like, you start talking about a paleontologist about their work, they're not going to shut up. They're not close guarded and secretive
Mark
about it.
knows from very direct experience.
I know. And that's cool. I find it great that they're passionate about it, but, you know, sometime I've got to eat and they will talk your ear off. And that's fine. Like, don't get me wrong, that's awesome. But this whole thing of, oh, they're so secretive, not in my experience. Least secretive people ever. Yeah.
No natural scientist I've ever met is secretive.
Right.
Of these creatures. They're fascinating illustrations.
Oh, that's a terror bird, isn't it? Is that a terror bird?
Yeah, that's Gestornis.
Yeah, I love the terror bird. Just because it's got an awesome name. It's like, yeah, I would be terrified if I saw that too. Yes, that is a bird that incites terror. Yes.
Well,
accurate.
That one right there is an herbivore.
Oh, okay.
Actually,
well, I'd still be freaking terrified. What? There's no terror bird? Oh, I'm so upset.
Well, no, that one specifically, I don't think is a terror bird anymore.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
I think it's a duck relative that convergently lost the ability to fly and grew a giant head and was herbivorous.
Yeah, it doesn't have the hooked beak. You're absolutely right. See, I knew I had you on for a reason. Yeah, it doesn't have the hook. Like, it has a hook on the front of the beak. Yeah, gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's still, I'd still be terrified.
Yeah, that's fair. Oh, and Maya's here. Hey, Maya, do I ever shut up about dinosaurs?
Nope.
The sheer concept of prehistoric life, I have come to a stage where it has become crucial to question the plausibility and veracity of this entire account from its beginning. As I searched deeper into its origins and discovered a vast array of discrediting factors, it became clear that many fraudulent cases and highly speculative artistic interpretations have been employed from the outset to advance this naturalistic, evolution-based agenda.
Naturalistic, yeah. So we see where the actual goal is. It's Bible, it's his chakras, it's his yoga stuff. It's don't believe science, believe supernatural woo. Even though we have tons of evidence for science and none for whatever the hell he's peddling, which is sort of very telling.
Who even knows at this point?
Yeah.
The absence of any third-party analysis and scrutiny surrounding dinosaur remains highlights a stark reality where vested in...
Who would be the third party? Like, you have people who study this all their lives. Who would be the third? You? What expertise do... Like, what? You know, you have the person that finds it. You have the people that they're trying to, you know, the rest of the community. And you have that's what peer review is. It is third-party analysis. That's exactly what it is. Like, I don't understand.
Also, how dare you, Maya? Yeah, I don't shut up about dinosaurs when people mention dragons. Pain.
I just, stress you out about dragons, yeah. But, you know, that's the whole point. Should you know, when a mechanic does his work, should I be called in to check to see if his work is correct? I don't know anything about engines. Why should, if they make a NASA rocket, should we call Doc in to judge whether the rocket's been configured correct? Like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like a third party? Like who?
Who knows?
It's like, well, we've got the person putting out the paper, we've got the experts peer reviewing it, and let's call in some dumbass from the street who's peddling chakras, auras, and Bible to check to see if they're right. It's as bad as like Kent Hovind saying, "Hey, give me education. I will correct evolution in the record." No, you don't know anything about it, you idiot. Like, seriously, no. What the hell?
I would not let Kent near a single one of my fossils. Ever.
Well, Kent is a fossil, so, he's still, yeah, no, seriously.
Interests exert complete control over and shape the entire dinosaur narrative. We must consider the possibility that the narrative surrounding dinosaurs has been an elaborate deception from the start, one that furthers the theory of evolution and the concept of ancient life forms. It becomes evident that there is a restrictive aspect to this field of paleontology.
It becomes evident. Yeah, dumbasses don't get to handle the fossils because they're really valuable. Just like NASA won't allow me to go in and take a wrench to their rockets. It's not a good idea. They won't let you be an air traffic controller, Dubay, for good reason. It's not a conspiracy. Yeah, it's just certain things. We don't allow people who are untrained to become police officers unless you're in the US, of course, and then you get a couple of weeks training or whatever. And that's really bad as well. It doesn't mean it's a good thing. But there's certain, we don't just allow a passenger to come up and fly the plane, you moron. Like, why would we let untrained people handle this very delicate material? It's so stupid. This is conspiracy theory crap at its worst. This is probably some of the worst I've ever seen. They won't let me look at the fossils. Yeah, they will. They won't let me handle the fossils. Why?
Yes, we will.
Well,
we might if you're not a nutcase.
He's a nutcase. He's absolutely a nutcase.
Exclusive to experts, where third-party involvement, critique, and scrutiny are not permitted. This firm exclusivity.
No, we just don't take your critique seriously because you've got absolutely no expertise in the field and you've made multiple false statements all throughout this video. So not being able to critique is not the same as your critique is not taken seriously by anybody, Dubay.
I mean, if anything, he's shown an active disregard for the field as a whole.
Yeah. And for any evidence that's put in front of him. And the reason why is because he's kind of projecting his own methodology onto them. Well, he's got a presupposed stance that these things couldn't have existed because the world's only X amount old. That's what his stance is. So, he's going in there going, well, these can't be real. It's kind of wild that he's projecting his own problems onto them. Like, of course they're manipulating things. He would.
Well, ain't that telling?
Yeah.
Reveals that only a privileged few within the field are credited with these discoveries, pointing to a clear lack of impartial findings from unaffiliated parties. While these experts may claim their expertise directs them to prime locations for such finds, it is important to consider the ratio of paleontologists to the general working class population in particular areas, where
does he realize that the society doesn't run on paleontology? As much as I respect the field, don't get me wrong, Doc, but if paleontology suddenly was not a thing, like, for instance, delivery drivers or truck drivers, right, weren't a thing, society would basically collapse. They're absolutely necessary, right?
Yeah.
That paleontology isn't the same thing.
No, not even close. I mean, obviously I'm biased. I think it should be a higher priority, but
sure, no, I agree.
We're not.
Yeah. It's just, as far as nurses and doctors and things are incredibly necessary, and paleontology isn't. And my job's the same. Like IT people are not entirely necessary. It's just if you want to fix something, I just don't.
Well,
What the hell?
I mean, tangentially, but paleontology is extremely important for society to function because of how closely it's tied to geology. And
Right. Yeah.
modern geology relies on paleontological principles to function.
That's fair. That's fair.
Without geology, like, you wouldn't have any metals that aren't right on the surface.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be able to predict where they're found, and a whole
that's
host
fair.
of other things.
That's fair.
So
I'm just saying that the demand for paleontology isn't that high.
Yeah.
It just isn't. I still think you're more useful than Jeff Bezos, though. I'll give you that. Much more useful. Much more useful.
One might certainly expect random dinosaur discoveries. Consider the extensive amount of daily excavation activities undertaken by builders and construction workers worldwide, especially in regions purportedly rich in dinosaur fossils. We find ourselves in the most populated era in world history, equipped with an abundance of massive earth-moving equipment that surpasses anything seen in prior history. Basic calculation.
Yeah, and we find more and more and more dinosaur bones. I don't.
Constantly.
Yeah, like, so, Reverend Buckland with his trowel and spade kind of thing, wandering through Badlands, trying to randomly find a hospital. Yeah, and his priest robes, yeah, his collar and frock, like trying to find fossils. We're finding a lot more than those days, which is to be expected. And they're found by construction workers. They're found by all kinds of people. But there's some places that, hey, paleontologists go, hey, this area is rich in fossils. Let's see if we can use geology to predict where more fossils will be. That's a thing. That comes with knowledge, something that he doesn't have. But if he wants to learn, he doesn't want to learn. Yeah,
No.
Fair enough. Yeah. No, I got you.
Reveal a notably skewed ratio, conservatively estimated at 1 in 10 million, between the number of paleontologists and everyday workers who might incidentally discover dinosaur remains. Is it statistically feasible for nearly all discoveries to be made exclusively by this very small group of professionals?
They're not. Number one, they're not. They find a disproportionately high amount because they know where to look. They know what preserves bones. That's their knowledge coming into play. They know where to look. That's basically it.
The people who have been educated on a thing know about the thing.
It's not rocket science, but Eric Dubay would think that is fake as well. So
You're right.
This stark contrast highlights that fossil discoveries are almost always credited to paleontologists, who not only unearth the...
Yes. So if a construction company finds fossils, and this happens more than you'd think, they are legally obliged to stop mining and call halt on work. I do know that. At least in Australia, that is the case. They cannot, even if they find, if they find anything that is any kind of art or any kind of archaeological or paleontological significance, right? So there was a big uproar because this mining company, I think it was Rio Tinto over here, they found some Aboriginal cave paintings, some native Australian cave paintings, and they went ahead anyway and blew it up. It turned out to be from caves. The paintings were probably about 50,000 years old. So there was an absolute outcry about that. And I believe they were fined a massive amount for ignoring things. But, mining companies can be douchebags. Just saying. Contentious, but true.
No.
These relics, but also assign their allegedly ancient ages. As well, it is these experts who classify the remains as dinosaurs or as new species, almost always relying on highly scant evidence, fueling continual doubts regarding
highly scant evidence. Now, your brain cells are highly scanned. The evidence is fine. There's tons of it, sir. Correct
Yeah.
yourself. Yeah.
Literal mountains
Mhm.
of evidence.
Yep.
The sufficiency of data underpinning such categorical identifications. While it is true that past species have become extinct and their remains
Oh, he's got the Illuminati thing. Hey, maybe
Oh.
paleontologists are the Illuminati. Maybe that's what it is. The
Yes,
Paleo
we
Illuminati.
definitely
Yeah.
are.
Oh, yeah. You can tell by just how rich and powerful they are in the world. Oh, boy. Yeah. Because those big name paleontologists like,
None that you would recognize.
those billionaire paleontologists like...
I don't think there's ever been a billionaire paleontologist.
Yeah, I know.
have been uncovered, we must acknowledge that the initial history of dinosaur discovery in particular was entirely conjectural concerning the alleged ancient age and the attempted reconstructions of unearthed fossils. It is also important to consider that no photographs of fossils or
Do not support this man on Patreon. It is
No.
not. I will disown you. I will disown you, children, if you support this man on Patreon. I was just going on about his website. Okay, well, I'll hear him out, but don't give a cent to this guy.
available. We only
This
have artistic
grifter.
interpretations, despite the availability of photography at the time. All illustrations and representations of these creatures were entirely speculative, given that less than 15% of an alleged dinosaur's remains were typically discovered.
We've had photos of dinosaur bones as long as photos have been available. People have took pictures of what, or are they fake as well? Fake pictures. Yeah, sorry, I forgot. Everything's
The
fake.
first, arguably one of the first cartoons ever made was of a dinosaur.
Oh, really?
Yeah, Gertie the dinosaur. It shows
Oh,
a
okay.
sauropod eating a tree. It's old enough. It probably is in the public domain, actually.
The earliest known illustration was of Robert Plot in 1677. Oh, yeah, it depicts the distal end of a femur, likely from a megalosaurus, though Plot initially believed it to be from a giant human, which sort of answers his questions of why did people before the 1900s not find dinosaur bones? They did. They thought they were giants. Hold it. I'll get the illustration up on the screen.
That might get your stream taken down. That
What's that?
illustration might.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, is it because it resembles yeah, okay,
Yes.
Fair enough. It does look, I'm sorry, people, it does resemble a scrotum. I'm really sorry, but
It was
vastly...
described in a book as scrotum humanum. Yes.
Okay. So giant scrotum. Wow.
Yes.
Good. Yeah. Good one. Good one. Good one. Hang on a sec. So what's the first photograph? First photograph.
I could not tell you.
Oh,
Would have been something from the late 1800s.
Yeah, possibly. That's an illustration. Yeah, I don't know. Probably from the 1800s. I'm not 100% sure. Doesn't seem to be giving me there. But I mean, we've got early photographs of dinosaur bones, right?
We have to somewhere. I just don't know
Yeah.
what they are specifically.
It wasn't until the 19th century scientists didn't grasp what dinosaurs were.
Yep.
Yeah, so they didn't really know what they were to take photographs of them. Interesting.
I point to a car from the 1600s.
Yeah, basically. All right. Well, that's Eric Dubay. What did you think? What's your overview, Doc? What did you think of the amazing mind of Dubay here? What did you think?
Possibly one of the laziest grifters I've had the displeasure of listening to for an extended period. I'm not a fan. I will never be a fan. This man, well, I'm not going to say he needs to educate himself because he knows he's talking bullshit and he knows
Yeah,
he's peddling bullshit.
I don't think somebody can be that misinformed. Like it beggars belief. That many lies all in a series. Yeah, I have doubts that he's being disingenuous. Basically, he's saying all of this stuff to convince people to support his just cause against big paleo, as it were. So, yeah. Have you got any other thoughts?
I guess to the people out there, support your local museums, please.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I really think people should support all the museums, art galleries, all the sort of social and artistic endeavors that humans do that sort of bind us together. Like one of the things that's not mentioned is that sort of dino rush and that excitement over it brought a lot of people together. It brought a lot of people to, have a common goal and to investigate our world. And, a lot of geology came from it as well, like understanding
Yep.
geology. So, all of it, finding out the truth of something and investigating it leads to development all over the place. And your point about, hey, we need, a lot of paleo is linked with geology. We absolutely need that. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Where would we be without understanding the rocks beneath us? We would be in trouble. Absolutely.
Be kind of
Um,
lost with a lot of things.
Yeah, and I'm leaning towards Dubay being a con artist as well. Like, I think that, you know, just a surface search would show some of these things are wrong.
I'm not even going to say leaning towards. I'm just going to say this man is a liar and a thief,
Fair,
basically.
fair. So,
I'm
Doc,
not going to be nice.
no, that's fair. You don't have to be nice. Look, no one. I mean, I try to be nice, but at a certain point, you have to say, "Hey, this isn't. You aren't being honest." Like that is completely dishonest. When you start talking about all the fossils, and then say, "Well, the scant amount of evidence," it's like, what? What?
Hmm.
It's not scant. Like, there's no way that's scant. You've shown tons of fossils just on your screen. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah, wild, 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 wild. I don't know what to say to that, but these, like I said, they all fall in the same bucket: the flat earthers, the young earthers, the conspiracy people. Very rarely do I meet somebody who I think is 100%, on the up and up.
Mhm.
I think that some are happy to lie to further their cause. I think I'm leaning towards Dubay doesn't actually believe it at all and is just scamming people, which is,
Yeah.
disgusting.
Which is worse? I'd say actively scamming.
Oh, absolutely actively scanning. Like I get why some people would, lie for Jesus or something, that they think that the ends justify the means, but knowing it's false straight off the bat is even worse. That's absolutely terrible. So, yeah.
Or like the end times justify the means.
Yeah, basically, well. But
Yeah,
while
I know
I'm
that was a bad
grabbing,
joke.
yeah, no, it wasn't bad. I was just looking for your channel. So tell the people what you've got coming up, what you're doing, what you're going to be getting up to, and yeah, anything that you want to plug while we're here.
Sure. Well, for those who have been listening, I am Dr. Dino, not an actual doctor. My online handle is a parody of Kent Hovind, who I'm sure most of you are pretty familiar with. Uh, I like dinosaurs. I like teaching people about dinosaurs. I am a paleontologist, and I run my own channel. Although things are sort of on pause right now. I'm visiting family, but I have been working a ton to raise money for a new car, and it's eating up a lot of time. And I am actually working on a new video though.
Oh,
Me and
fantastic!
some other me and some other paleontologist friends are doing a review of the new Walking with Dinosaurs movie. Spoilers,
Okay.
it's awful. Don't watch it.
Oh, okay. Wait for the review. All right, not a
Yeah,
problem.
we were all disappointed, and so is just about every other paleontologist we've talked to.
I do
Which is
also.
kind of sad because that's what got us into paleontology. A lot of us.
I do have a super chat from My Unfinished Journey. Sorry, Journey. This is a new platform for me because I hate StreamYard and hope they die in a fire. So this is a new platform. I'm getting used to it, so my apologies I didn't see it earlier. But super chat for $2.22, United States dollary do. Hail Mark, Doc, and third-party critique or peer review. Yes, all hail the third-party critique and or peer review. But a critique is only as good as the experience and the the thought process of the one doing it. So this critique by uninformed people is just I don't know about that, champ. I don't know about that. But
Yeah,
yeah,
it's pretty worthless.
pretty
At
much.
least these days, critiques.
Yeah, and I thought his thing was just, I mean, he's just pointing conspiracy. There's nothing to it. There's no evidence for it. There's just a whole bunch of claims, unsubstantiated, ignorant claims that are completely baseless. Like he's got no base for actually pushing back up against this, except that he believes that the Earth is young. So he believes that people have to have this, oh, well, they're pushing a narrative. No, that isn't what happened at all. So it's just ridiculous. So coming up, we've got, I should be over at Embers, I believe, on my Sunday or my Sunday, my Monday, my Sunday. Yes, my Sunday, Saturday night. And then I may just, and I want to check on Modern Day Debate, but I may have the debate was cancelled last week due to a mix-up from the host. I may be doing that debate this week. See what comes up. So that may be on as well, which I would love to do because I was very disappointed last time. I was disappointed. I'm not gonna out now. People make mistakes. Let's not be mean, but I was disappointed that it didn't go ahead. I was very sad. So I would love to do that this week. Hopefully it will go through. And if not, or even if it does, I do have a debate coming up on Donnie's channel coming up pretty soon. I believe that's in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned for that one. That should be fantastic.
Yeah.
Doc, thank you so much for coming. It's been fantastic. I've given out some readerships. It's been awesome. Thank you so much for joining me. And thank you. Doc was the one that found the video and posted it in a chat, and I went, "Oh, that is hilarious. Can I use that for Fundamentalist fails?" And he said, "Sure, can I join you?" And I said, "Why the hell not? Why the hell not?" So I'm glad you were here to share my pain, indignation, and overall incredulousness of that man's ignorance and stupidity. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me. And out of curiosity, what are the future debates on?
The next one is Christianity or atheism, which one is true, which is a bit of a dodgy title, but I'm really not pushing back on it. I really would just like the debate. The
Yeah.
standing for truth one is very weird. It's like what sort of is scientific or religion watches the best for like view of the past or something. It's a very weird title. I can't remember exactly what it is, but I had to lay down some ground rules with that one because I've seen the guy debate before, and he kind of, for a start, he has stuff on the screen like slides constantly, and I said sort of, hey, let's limit them. The audience hates that. I hate it. And it seems very unfair. So let's limit that. And the other thing he did something else that I demanded he not do. Oh, that's right. Playing videos for his introduction. People hate that. Like people hate just being shown a YouTube video for their debate introduction. It's lazy. It's people have usually seen it before from whatever side they're coming from. And he was playing videos throughout the debate. So I sort of said, hey, let's not do that because people don't like it. They want to see you engage with somebody and, make points rather than just play them YouTube videos. To me, it's just lazy anyway. That's my opinion. So they agreed to that.
Who is
and I'm like,
the
okay, cool.
interlocutor?
I'm trying to find him. Brian Laura. So creation versus evolution, the proper perspective of the past, which again is a dodgy title because what do you mean by proper? I would say the proper one is the more accurate one, which is absolutely evolution versus creation. But I'm thankful because they put creationism. I can challenge creationism. Let's see the evidence for that one, which is fantastic.
It's not
I love
just
it.
evolution on trial.
Correct, yes, which I'm very happy about, because then I can sort of go, okay, well, we've got this evidence. What do you got? And if answer is book, I don't think that's sufficient. But yes, I asked Donnie whether I could stream it direct onto my channel, so that will be on here. I got that permission.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm doing more debates where I'm having my audience come into the chat, and we can hang out, and it makes me feel happy to see all the people. And a lot of people don't like going over to their thing for obvious reasons, because they go over there and they're told, hey, you have a soul and you're gonna you need to save yourself. It's just not it's just not something anybody wants to go through to watch a debate. So be preached at as soon as you enter
No
the
one
chat.
should be subjected to a comment or live stream debate with Sam in the live chat.
Yeah. It's no, he's awful. He's an awful person. So yeah. Anyway, so that's what's coming up. Don't forget, as I always say, we'll do like and subscribe. Be kind to yourself. Be kind to me. Like, subscribe, share. Be kind. But be kind to yourself. Don't listen to some non-expert because he's saying conspiracy theory. There's a load of evidence out there. Paleontologists are not shy about it. They're not shy about it. It's all out there, and they can explain what it is that they mean. But do take care, all of you. Thank you for coming, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye.